So I think we'll get this meeting started. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the December 7th, 2015 meeting of the Merrimack Conservation Commission. It is now 6:33 p.m. Only a few announcements. We are still looking for a full-time member and 3 alternate members for the commission. If any of you are interested in serving on the commission and having as much fun as we're having, you're more than welcome to sign up. Please see Becky Thompson in the town manager's office. It's only a couple of meetings a month, and in some months we only meet once a month, so it's not that tremendous responsibility. And we love to train on the fly, so don't worry about that either. All right. Other announcements, it is still hunting season, no matter what anyone thinks. Hunting season for most animals is still going on. Firearm season for deer is over, but archery season continues until December 15th. Please continue to wear orange when you're in the trails around conservation properties. And if you're a hunter and you want to hunt on conservation properties, please check out merrimackoutdoors.org and make sure the property you want to hunt on allows hunting. Jody will not be with us tonight. She's excused. Anyone else have any other announcements? All right, so that takes care of announcements. We have no appointments tonight. We have no statutory advisory business. And we'll jump straight into old business, and that brings up the Horse Hill Nature Preserve parking lot expansion. So, Kyle, why don't you come on up? Yeah. Sure, we can do something quick.
I don't know if that's considered an appointment.
It's not, well, okay. Yeah, so not in the way that the council has done it, so.
Okay. Hang around a bit?
Yeah. So since there are many members of the Horse Hill Subcommittee here, there are available chairs around. You're welcome to grab a chair. But if you're going to talk, you're going to have to talk in front of a microphone, and you're going to have to sign in the sheet. So either grab a chair now or grab a chair later. It's totally up to you. So you're welcome to sign the docs. Should we be presenting anything up on the board? I believe everyone in the subcommittees had a chance to see the expansion plans and costs and things like that. It was emailed out, I believe, to everybody. Okay, so don't be shy then. All right, so then I won't put something up on the screen unless we need to go that far. All right, so just to bring everyone up to speed, back in the summertime, the subcommittee, I believe, asked about this, and other folks have been asking about expanding the Horse Hill Nature Preserve parking lot at the Amherst Road location, because often that parking lot is full, and cars are actually they're parking along Amherst Road and other roads in the vicinity. So this is the intent of this is to look at a way to create the parking lot a little larger and make it safer for everyone involved. So with that said, what we did is we hired a wetland scientist to go in and map the wetlands in the area, so we know. So that way we know where the wetlands are and where we want to stay away from, and we obviously want to maintain all the buffers that are required. So once that was done, Tracy also did a training session for many of us, so we have an opportunity to understand what wetland mapping is all about and how to identify a wetland. Just for a quick little, wetlands are designated by soil type, and then presence or not of water, and then certain wetland plants and things like that that can be found there. So that's how you help identify, and there is a scientific process for that. So Kyle then picked up from where the wetland scientist left off. He and his team went out and surveyed all the markings, so we know exactly where they are. He also took the information that he got from Tracy and then put it all together and created the presentation materials we have. So I think I'll turn it over to you, Kyle, at this point.
Thank you, Tim. Thanks for having me here tonight.
Thank you for coming.
So I think you covered most of it. So following the work that GZA had done with locating the wetland flags in the field, we went out with survey equipment to locate them to a better precision. The graphic that GZA had sent to everyone was based on GPS readings. So what we have here, we did an actual field survey. We can reproduce it so that we know where they physically are, and if folks go and pull the ribbons off of the trees now, we can reproduce them. So what we did is we spent a day doing a topographic survey out there, and kind of the limits of the survey is where you see the contour lines. We didn't go deep into the woods for this initial practice. If more information was needed, we could remobilize and get more data and make a more robust plan. So what we did, based on direction from the chairman, following the survey, we created an existing conditions plan, which is the first plan everyone got, and then created a second plan with a couple alternatives for parking. The first one shows a 42 space configuration, 40 regular spaces and 2 handicap spaces. And then a second one, and so that first one, it basically, the width of the parking lot would stay the same, and it would just expand out, straight out into the woods. You'd end up with 4 rows of parking, 1 at each end, and then 2 in the middle, head to head. A further expansion, should more spaces be needed, could be a 58 space configuration, and the way I drafted that onto the plan was to expand that to the east of the existing parking lot. What works nicely there is you could do the 42 space configuration initially, see if there's enough room. If there's not, you could always easily do a sideways expansion. Trying to expand further out into the woods would be more difficult. So this is kind of a decent way to phase the plan should funding or question of need be an issue. I also showed an approximate distance from each configuration to Mr. Roberge's property. I know that was a concern for some, trying to maintain a decent buffer there. And the other item that was taken into account was the wetland buffer, which is also on there, the 25-foot wetland buffer. And as you can all see from the plan, there was it was fairly easy to accomplish all of those goals. It turned out the site was pretty good for this project.
Yeah, it's pretty level, and the wetlands are far away.
Exactly. So then what I did, I kind of just did a ballpark estimate, just kind of taking what the big items would be to accomplish this. And I broke that up into a couple different things. If you did a 42 parking space expansion, and what the individual costs would be for adding the 16 spaces, and I summed those together to get a 58 space configuration. All of the numbers in the spreadsheet are based on unit weight average prices as published by DOT on their website. So their contractor-based prices includes materials and labor. So it's an all-encompassing cost. One of the costs that's really hard to estimate is the clearing and grubbing, and it's such a small project. It's really hard until you go out for bid to get an accurate number on that. Other options, of course, are if the commission wanted to serve as a general contractor for that or that part of the project or all of the project. Certainly your forestry connections may help, and if you wanted to do an expanded cutting project, that may help you with those kind of costs. But that was my kind of good guess at what it might cost.
Okay. Really not the cost driver in the estimate, though.
It's not, no.
Right. All right, so Newt, do you have any thoughts or feelings on this? Make sure your light is bright green for me, please. There you go.
Yeah, Roland and I have walked out there, and I don't know how Kyle's dimensions mirror ours, but we had gone like 66 feet back, and if somebody wants to go out there, it's flagged in green tape if you want to see it. And then we went towards his house 44 feet, and he was happy with the buffer there. Now, how that matches to what you've proposed, I'm not sure. But I was probably a week ago Sunday. We had cars parked on both sides of the street, and so, Roland and I counted, we had 16 more cars than we had spaces for, and some of them were doubled up in there, so obviously there were probably groups that were together. So I'm thinking that, my own personal opinion is I think if we can go to the 58 space lot, we'd be ahead of the game. Because we lose a lot in the wintertime to snow, So that's why we kind of leaned. They're using the grass now. Or Kyle's showing it to the east. We had pushed some of that back, the brush and stuff back this spring, and they're constantly parking there. So, we're already over what the original parking lot was designed for, plus parking on the road. In looking at the costs here, and I've only, because we haven't had a meeting since this all came out, Roland and I have done some projects, and so we've had some time to discuss it. I see that we're talking paving, and I question the paving like we couldn't use, the reground hot asphalt, and when that's down for a while, it's just as hard as a parking lot. And the town seems to get a bunch of that every year. We went and got some the other day and did some repairs with it, and there's quite a pile at the Public Works garage, and I understand they're going to do some more grinding next year. That maybe that would be a way to save some money. Yeah, once it's set up, and because basically they spread it, then they roll it just like hot top, and it gets just as hard as hot top. I've built a parking lot out of it in the past. I'm by no means an engineer, but it gets real hard, and then you could paint it. You're not going to paint it immediately like you would the other, but you still could paint it.
So we should rotate the microphones since we have an extra one here.
Okay, we can do that.
No, I'm probably not. That's all right.
Well, yeah, well,
Pass this one down this way.
no one caught your question, though.
Oh, Deb, you'll say something.
So I can speak to that point a little bit. Tim and I had discussed that possibility, and by way of reference, anyone who hasn't seen it, we did a new parking lot down at Wasserman Park this year, and we did exactly that. The road grindings from the Daniel Webster project, a bunch of it was taken down there, rolled right away. We striped it with our highway striping machine, and it's held up great. And that kind of treatment can hold up fairly well. The trick is to have the grindings available fresh and get them rolled and graded and rolled right away. I don't know that we're going to be doing any grinding this coming paving season. We've not finalized our paving schedule yet. Initial blush looks like we may not be doing any grinding next year, but that's not been decided yet. But it's certainly something that you build the parking lot with gravel. It's something that can happen later.
Right, and that's the other thought I had, is if we put 12 inches of gravel in there, and that's basically what we've got in the existing parking lot now, and we've only regraded that twice in the entire time it's been in there. I think the town did it once, and I had a friend of mine come in and do it once, and that's, it's in pretty good shape. It's not really uneven or too many holes in it, So if we could even just go in with gravel and leave it set that way for a year, it'd just help all the more packing for it, and then put the grindings on when we can get it.
And I should have touched on it before. One of the important part, or the reason I put the pavement in and the striping, was to get the number of spaces that you all desire. It has to be a striped lot.
Yeah.
If it's just a gravel lot, people do not park as cozily as they do with
right.
stripes.
And I understand that. So. I was just trying to look at ways that, that maybe we could save a few bucks here and a few bucks there. The other thing is I do have somebody that will supply us with fill, and it's a short truck. Tim, it's your brother. I had talked to John, and not specifically, but I said we were thinking about it. And he says, well, if you need fill, you let me know because it's right there on the hill.
Right.
So it's a matter of a short haul to get fill. to do it, so we might be able to save some money there.
Certainly.
That's basically what I have to say. I mean, I'd really like to see this go. If there's any way we can afford to do it, I'd like to see it come to fruition. I'm partial to the 58 space. Do it once and be done with it. We don't have many people that park over at the other side of the park. Almost everybody comes in from that side. So,
Yeah. So Kyle, what do you think roughly the delta is between paving and using the grindings?
If we did the grindings, typically we can get the paving contractor to haul them locally for no charge while we're doing operations. So the material would actually be free at that point. So then what you'd have to pay for is to have a bulldozer and a roller on site.
Mm-hmm.
And when we did that at Wasserman, I think the cost for that was, it was part of the whole bigger project. So
Yeah.
if it was just for the rolling, the grading and the rolling, I'm going to say probably a couple grand, $2-3 grand.
Okay,
So
it's,
it would be a
considerable.
significant
So
savings.
It's an order of magnitude. then.
Absolutely.
Okay.
What's the size of that parking lot over there?
right now, it's
No, the
Oh.
Wasserman, sorry. Roughly, roughly. I mean,
I
we're
think-
talking 58
I think there's
parkings.
22 spaces.
All right.
Oh, how many are you figuring are there now at the Horse Hill lot, Amherst Road?
That'd be about 20.
24, I think.
18 spaces
18
currently.
spaces.
18, so
Ba-
adding,
based on doing normal striping.
It- so
I don't
when-
know that you may, with all the extra space created on the edges, you may get that many cars or more, but,
I'd say there's probably closer to 24 at this
yeah,
point.
okay.
so when you put the 16 additional parking spaces on the spreadsheet,
Yeah.
is that where is that?
That's based on, if you look at the proposal plan, it's those 16 to the left in this area.
Okay,
So you see where it says 112 feet to the property line for
Gotcha.
42 spaces?
gotcha. So that's just the
So
difference.
that's the
between
42 spaces.
Gotcha.
Then you add the 4 rows of 4 spaces to get the additional 16. And it could be more than that, depending on the comfort level of moving that much closer to the abutter.
Do you guys have any idea, when you said you've walked it and you kind of made a little plan, but we're not really sure how much different it is than this? Do you
Yeah,
know-
I actually made a copy of it here. I only have one.
Do you know roughly how close you are to the house?
but,
Is this about?
We go down as far as the cement little stool or the apple tree on the cement bench we put.
Yeah.
It's a good. It's only like.
You're going to have to come.
Yeah, it's okay. It's fine. I'm going to say it's about maybe 30, 40 feet from the parking lot now existing to where we're actually going to go in.
So that was
We've got the green markers on the trees.
so that was Roland, and Roland's going to sign in for
Oh,
me
I'm
now.
sorry. I apologize.
Sorry, it's right in front of you.
No, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Well, no, Roland, my question, just in comparison to what we have here, I mean, if we go out to the 58 spots, it's 85 feet.
See, I've not really gone out to see exactly what this plan to see exactly where it lands
Right,
on
but
the.
I mean, there's a good tree buffer right there. So
there is.
So we're thinking, okay, 85 feet.
That you might see headlights from cars. It starts thinning out towards my house after that.
Okay.
Because we got the
I think
black walnut there, and we got,
I think if you look at it's showing like 3.5 spaces from the existing in, and we measured out 44 feet. So I mean, you're talking 10 feet per car. I mean, you're pretty close to what Kyle's showing here.
All right, so I want to raise the concern with the expansion of the 16 spaces. And that is when you park in that furthest parking spot all the way over along the road and you turn on your headlights, you're going to shine them right into someone's home.
that's what would happen, basically.
Yeah. Not your home, gentleman across the street.
John Listoka.
John,
Yeah.
Yeah, if they're there at night, the only ones that go in at night are the guys who have the
Yeah,
bikes.
so that happens all the time.
Oh, no, I'm not arguing with you.
Right, yeah, happens
Has
all
he,
the time.
has he complained about it?
No,
Oh, okay.
no.
John has
no.
actually wondered why we haven't cleared out more between the street and the lot. And in the beginning, he was very adamant. He did not want, it very thinned out. And then when we started to thin it a little bit at a time, he says, "God, you got some other trees you ought to get out of there." So it's obviously not been an issue for John.
It is probably worth it for us to have a conversation with
Yeah, I
him
can have
about
a-
it.
I have.
But don't forget, now he won't have cars parked in front of his house on Saturdays and Sundays. They're lining the road. That's not safe for him and for his guests coming in and out, and for his clients, because he does run a farm there. I mean, he has customers that come in and out. So I'm sure he'd be happy to have that taken care of. I'd be wrong saying that.
You'd be
right?
wrong. Okay, so,
All righty
So
then.
I sat with John and had a discussion with him since he is a integral partner in our project here at Horse Hill, and not vehemently opposed, but said, please don't do it. Okay? Said, please don't expand any further to the east because there will be headlights. He says, I was okay with trimming things down and stuff like that, but when you go much further, it's going to go right into his living room.
Okay,
So-
can I say something just for a minute?
Yeah.
He said not going to the east. Most of the problems, if there's headlights, they'll be coming towards my house. We're not expanding more with the cars facing his house on that section. We are coming in from this side, east, going towards my property with the headlights. There'll be no more going towards his house.
Still have to turn in.
I'm looking at the proposal that Kyle put together, and there'll be 4 more slots.
Almost lots.
Oh, you're
So-
adding plots. Oh,
So similar to what we did
yeah, okay, all right.
the other at Wildcat.
Wildcat, I remember there was a
Is
problem.
that something that's acceptable?
That could be.
I mean, it's
So-
a simple fence and trees. I mean, that's going to be.
That's yeah. So when you put a fence up, you now block the view for the police officers and law enforcement. Again, so I'm just laying it out.
But we
okay?
also don't need an 8-foot fence to block, headlights that are at your knee height.
4 feet would be more than enough.
Right.
You'd want to do more than 4, I would think, because when you're further back in the lot and you're spinning and turning around, you get the range.
How many cars would you think at peak at Wasserman parking along the road and in the parking lot?
Well, you
High-
Horse Hill?
Horse Hill,
The
right.
day that Roland and I counted, we had 16 in the road. Right.
16 in the road and how many in the
parking
lot?
lot was full. There's got to have been 24, 25 cars in the parking
So it's like 40 cars?
And the people that were parking on the road, usually I take a walk up and I advise them, please park only on one side. If they park on both sides, somebody's going to get tagged. So that I try to get them to stay on Hammer's Road facing east. Now they can't park over on Tomasian or the other one because that's being house built there. But usually they've been staying on my side. But that day, yes, we saw them on both sides. And what can I tell you? They will get tagged if they park on both
lot. We've
sides.
seen them up on Farmer Road too. So
Right.
I mean, it's a very popular place for people.
Understood. I'm just not sure that this is going to solve it completely.
If you did away with those last 4 parking spaces, would that really hurt you? And leave it just the north side of that parking space alone and just do away with those 4 parking spaces? Would that affect, I mean, you lose 4 spaces, so what? That would satisfy John. We're not going east anymore.
You would lose the 4 on the other side.
4 on,
Lose 16.
You lose 16.
We did 16 here. 'Cause it's-
oh, no, I'm just saying right here. If
Oh,
we
in the
just,
one corner.
yeah, and just in that one corner. You lose 4.
People are going to park there anyways, Roland. You know it.
Well, because they can, because we have a picnic table there, we've got a concrete bench.
So
They
when-
don't go down that,
when-
that's coming towards my house.
When you do the clearing for the next row up, you're going to have to clear far enough for people to back down, which means you're going to come really close to where those current spaces are. You'd have to eliminate 8 spaces and use some sort of landscaping or other material to discourage people from using that area.
What if those were heading parking spaces? Instead of being parallel with everything now, what if they were head-ins? In other words, 90 degrees to it.
Or make those 4 back-ins, not drive-ins.
What do you do,
I'm-
what do, you do with all the rest?
The rest really wouldn't bother John. I mean, because one is
No,
going
but
to...
you can't block somebody in there.
No, I'm not blocking anybody. The 4 spaces over here on the west side, make those back-ins, not drive-ins. You can still drive out, you can still back out, you're not blocking anybody on that north
That's
side.
east. That's east.
Well, no, this is
Northeast.
Okay.
This is north.
okay, northeast. I'm sorry. I apologize. If you just do those 4 last spaces back-ins, not drive-ins, would that not satisfy the headlights going towards John?
How could you enforce that?
But a sign says back-in only. I'm just offering a suggestion. I mean,
Yeah.
so we can.
Well, the problem, Roland, is that all of our parks are closed at sunset anyway, so there shouldn't be an issue to begin with.
Not in this one.
Not Horse Hill.
Not
this
Horse
one.
Hill.
In this one, we let this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Right.
one says no
Yeah.
hourly change.
Right.
Because I mean, if it's that simple, we could, after hours, please park over here.
Well, I don't think you'd see it filled after hours.
Right.
The bike club comes in there and they'll bring, 20 cars in?
Yeah.
They're gonna park as close as they can to the kiosks because that's the shortest distance to
Right.
the trail.
Right.
They're not gonna go over in the back 40 to park. I think they're gonna all park down towards the kiosk in that area.
I don't know.
Well, maybe a good thing would be to include John in the discussions, to maybe have John take a look at this and see if he can approve any concept for expanding it, possibly just the back 8 spots and not the front 8 spots, and we change that with landscaping and picnic tables and whatever. So we lose 8 spots. I think it's really important to be respectful of his home and his privacy. He's been a good partner to Horse Hill. We certainly, he deserves that.
The other thing we need to be mindful of is the water line that goes under this parking lot. All construction has to be done so it doesn't disturb the water line. I'm not sure you're aware of the water line.
Yeah. We don't know where that water line goes through, right? Exactly.
We do.
We could
Well,
find it pretty
John
close,
knows-
because
knows
we know where it is on John's side.
Yeah, we know where it is up by the well.
And we know where it is at the well, so we
It's a
can
line of
shoot
sight.
it.
Line of
Yeah.
sight.
It's,
Okay.
And it's not an MVD water line. It was done as a
Private.
family project many years ago. Okay.
It's like a 2-inch
Black plastic. Or,
black plastic
yeah,
line that
right.
comes down, and it runs continually.
I guess if somebody wants to locate it and paint it out, I could locate it with the survey equipment, then we could put it on the
I can
plan.
get with John
Yeah.
and get him to
Yeah.
locate it with me.
Okay.
Have the police expressed a concern about not being able to see into that parking lot?
No. No, because when we originally put the parking lot in, they couldn't see into it at all, or barely.
Barely.
Yeah.
They're doing much better now.
So,
They park there.
They sit there and
So-
watch the movie from John's house.
so I guess the question comes down to is what do we think is the ideal number of spaces, and then we can worry about how we lay them out.
Well, considering how popular, what you just heard was last Sunday, we had, what was the total you guys just came to?
40.
40? And the max spaces we can possibly get is 58, so I mean, clearly we'd like, more is better,
Well, I'm not.
but not at the expense of a neighbor being miserable.
Now, also, if you go, I'm just looking at the sketch, where the gate is, if you go north of the gate, you can also put 2 cars there, because we have parked at least 3 without affecting the gate.
North of the gate, I'm not sure what you mean by north.
No, that's west.
Well, no,
Get you a compass.
no, the gate is west, but they're parking along
Yeah, along
towards
the
the
west
north,
side.
the
yeah.
west, yeah, right.
Right.
There's usually 2 or 3 cars
2 or 3
parked on
cars
the
that are
grass
parked-
there between
parked
the
there.
sign and the
That's
gate.
true.
Right,
Yeah.
That would help.
okay. I keep saying north.
I would just suggest that the fire department might not care to have
Yeah.
folks parking in the entryway.
Yeah. Well, they weren't
Well,
parking in
they're
the
not parking
entryway.
anyway.
There's actually a grass section between the gate here and
Okay.
then usually 2 or 3 cars are parked there.
What you see here is, I want to say it was 24 feet wide that I left there for
Fire
emergency
Yep.
access.
And I agree with that totally.
I would like to thank Kyle for this. This is great. This is really nice. This is much better than I ever thought we could get out there. I never thought we could get 58 spots. So the fact that you did that is super. Whether or not we can get every one of them, that is questionable, but it's really nice that you laid it out like that. Thank you.
Potentially, we could go deeper, right?
Right, absolutely. And again, if,
We're not even close to the wetlands, going deeper.
right, and if that were an option, we'd have to do more survey to see what the terrain is. But
So we seem to be, going back and forth about going wider, but there really is nothing prohibiting us from going deeper.
If we went deeper, would that bring us a little closer to the neighbors?
It would put
Also.
us- I don't think it
To
would bring
Roland's
us any
house?
closer than the
It would
50.
be on, more further on the back side where there's all trees and all forest anyway. It wouldn't be next to the house. And there's plenty of trees there that I wouldn't even see it.
Just make another head-to-head row.
Yeah, right, there you go.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah, I think you know, if you
Yeah,
do
if you
that,
went out another 60 feet, you'd get the additional 20 spots.
and we'd have to move the handicap closer to the kiosk and gate then.
We'd have to work out where the handicap parking goes.
Right, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And when you get over 50 spots, you actually need 3 handicap spaces.
So
Yeah.
is this not, we're saying 58 spaces, would we need to designate one more as a handicap spot?
Yeah, if you go to the 58, we'll have to squeeze another one in there.
And if we designate another one?
Is that a law, that you have to have that, you have to have it, even though they're not being used, you still have to have them? Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm just quickly jotting on the piece of paper, I don't think we come much closer than we would with the 58 going wide as if we went 58 deep, or thereabouts. Much closer to his property line,
Yeah, you're probably correct.
so I would be much more in favor of just going deep and avoiding the situation with John.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah,
Good
that's
idea.
fine.
I didn't think, I'm shocked you can get that much with the wetland. I thought for sure the wetlands were going to
Yeah.
stop us. I'm amazed.
Yeah, so the wetlands in the back are not even on the picture here.
It's fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who'd have guessed?
The one caveat to that, Tim, is the further you go back, if the train keeps going down,
It
then
does-
you'll need
Fill.
more fill.
More fill.
So the project becomes more costly than going to the east. But
More reason
That
to
would
use
be
the
yeah.
ground-up asphalt.
Okay.
Cool. Nice. This looks like it could happen.
All right, so where do we want to go from here at this point? Good. All right, so I'll ask, Kyle, would you have the opportunity to depict going deeper
sure, absolutely.
and confirming that we don't have a terrain issue? Or at least giving us an idea of what the slope looks like?
Yep, definitely.
So with that said, what is the number of spaces we're targeting? So let's give them some.
Maybe only about 4 feet
Yeah.
from the trail.
As we've seen, that whole area is full. It gets full regularly. I mean, I've been by there a number of times and it's full. So, certainly I was expecting to hopefully be at 40. We're at 42, which is, okay, we're finally there. But boy, I'll tell you, 58 spaces, I would be surprised on a sunny day like we've had this last weekend. I bet that was going to be pretty full if we could.
Yeah, I mean, at a point, it just becomes full, too.
Yeah.
Right? And we should be looking at other alternatives for parking, which is something on our agenda. We are speaking again with the Bowman, looking at that, and we should be looking at that opportunity or other access points.
Another spot that has easily 300 spaces that are never used is Wasserman Park, where we have a connection to this trail system.
Right.
Maybe having a sign in Amherst Road saying, a mile and a half away there's another parking lot that's, 10 times as big.
Tim? Just a suggestion, when you go further in with your parking slots,
Yeah.
is it wise to say to take it a little bit further than what the parking spaces are? Because when it snows and they plow, you do lose some of the parking space, a little space where they can actually push the snow.
Yeah.
That way you wouldn't lose any spots at all,
We can push it toward John's house.
Of course.
Fill that area with snow. And the problem with the other, we've thought often about where else to put parking, obviously.
Yeah.
The problem with Wasserman is, it's great for bikers who can cover a lot of territory, but for walkers, that's just not the interesting side of the property. People like to come in, they like to go up the hill, they like to sit by the pond, it's the attractive, pretty side of the property. So people still they're mostly not going to want to walk in from Wasserman. It's just kind of not the attractive side. But bikers can cruise. We can encourage bikers to maybe park there and bike over. And Watonic, it's just an awkward place to get to for people to park. You've got to cut through this windy neighborhood to
Get
go
lost
find a
all the time.
parking spot. It's just,
Yep.
really, the more we can expand the Amherst Road parking lot, the better off we are. And not think that people are going to do something else.
Just one more suggestion, Tim. along Amherst Road, where they have been parking,
Yeah.
how hard would it be for DPW to put a couple signs that says no parking? That way there, if they do park, they're at their own risk.
Well, that can be done by an action of the council or the Highway Safety Committee, I believe.
Okay, all right,
So,
okay.
It would have to be the town council because that would be a regulatory sign.
Just a suggestion.
not that it's not impossible, it's just a process.
Yeah, I would think that, if we do expand the parking lot, then we'd definitely like to go to the council and get them to say no parking there, because we've given them the space in there, and you get close to 60 cars in there, 50 cars in there. That's quite an amount,
Yeah.
You're gonna have a lot of people in there. You're gonna have over 100 people in the hoofing around.
Okay. All right, so again, what's a good number we should give Kyle for guidance?
It has to be over 50, right?
If you could,
Over 50 plus handicap?
Well, if he played with the 58 and tried to go do it with just the depth,
you go half again as large.
It'd be another 10.
Backwards, you're gonna be at 62 lots, 62 spaces. So I mean, if you go half again as deep, that's another 20 spaces. We're gonna have to add, obviously, if you're gonna have to take out a couple of them for handicap, but that's close to 60 spaces.
Yeah, and the only thing you're gonna be considered there is the fill. If it does start going
Right.
downhill, then it's,
Well, and it does. We know it does.
yeah, we know it
you know
does.
it does,
So-
4 feet probably off the parking lot,
Yeah, it's not drastic, though.
No, it's not.
No,
No, it's not a drastic drop.
it's just what has to be pulled out before you can put the fill
Right.
in.
Yeah, right.
'Cause there's been a lot of rotten trees in there over the years.
Lots of grapevines, too.
Yep.
Big grapevines,
Yeah.
like your wrist.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we've been working at those too.
But we can definitely survey out there and get a more detailed survey in that area, and we'll have a better idea of what the terrain looks like out there.
I would really appreciate it. If not, have it go deep and then go L, avoid the wetland buffer, but, because there's some
Right.
space that way, too,
Right.
right?
Yep.
So, and the terrain, and we can see by the gradients, the terrain really doesn't drop too much that way, so.
Right.
All right, so is that the consensus of everyone?
Something around 60 spaces.
And I guess one more question I had for you folks. The way I showed it, the parking lot just dead ends as you go to the left on the print. Would you want it to be circulatory to make it easier for the cars?
They have another entrance, like? Or
No,
No?
but
Oh, I see, just.
versus
a row.
having to go down an aisle and forcing everybody to come back to the same
Yeah.
aisle
Come right around.
versus
That would
being
be-
able to
that would
go
be nice.
circulatory. Again, you need another 20 feet of pavement to do that.
I think it would be nice, but if you do it and the lot fills up again, people are just gonna park there.
They may.
Yeah, and if there's nobody there, they're gonna do it anyways, they'll just go
Right.
right through.
True.
Right?
Absolutely. Tell you what, I'll put it in
Yeah.
as a circulatory route, and
Okay,
if there's reason not to do it, then we can
Yep.
cut it back out.
that'd be great.
Thank you.
We won't require you to come back if you don't want to.
Thank you, Kyle.
Anything else while we have them? Sound like a plan? Subcommittee members, those of you in the back who may be watching, we look good? Yeah? All right, cool. Sounds like a plan.
All right, thank you.
Thank you
I'll
very much.
leave these extra prints and whatnot.
Kyle?
Anyone who wants a bigger set.
Yep.
Yeah, that's nice. I can read these.
Thanks, Kyle. That's really huge. It's a huge
Thank you.
improvement. Huge improvement.
Those are
I
the
will make a
wetland flags.
change in the agenda now. Swap two and three.
All right.
Okay.
All right, I'm with you.
All right,
So I'm drinking coffee.
yeah,
We'll slow down, take
all
a-
right. Yeah, we'll see you. Thanks. All right, Steve, would you like to join us? Sure. I'm going to swap items 2 and 3 under old business, so that way we can move number 3 along and be done with it. So, nothing personal. I don't want to just throw you out. So, Steve, can you sign the board for me, just so? did you want to make introductions? With your light on?
That's for us.
Yeah, you left those.
So, Steve, this is Steve Marble. I received an email from Steve requesting a spot on the Greater Woods Subcommittee. So, if you'd like to tell us what brought your interest to the subcommittee and why you'd like to join.
Sure, so I just push here?
Yeah.
All right. We moved this summer from Pittsfield, New Hampshire, down to Merrimack to be closer for work for me. And one of the big draws to the house we purchased on BB Lane was the easy access to the Greater Woods. I'm a big mountain biker and hiker and just nature enthusiast, I guess. And so once I moved in, my property actually abuts the Greater Woods Conservation. And so I wanted to make sure to be involved and do my part to help maintain it and keep it nice.
Cool. So we have an open alternate slot. Right now, the way the subcommittee is structured is the alternates are reappointed on a yearly basis.
Okay.
And you would be filling an unfilled spot, which means that you'd be filling effective from the time you're appointed to July 31st of next year, where you'd have to express interest to continue with the subcommittee. We wouldn't make you come all the way back here. We kind of like to meet people for the first time.
Sure.
So
Yeah, of course.
that way, when we run into you on the trails, we know who you are. So. So does anyone have any questions for Steve? Has he been a good neighbor so far?
Very good.
Steve's already joined a couple meeting,
Talked to him, yeah.
the subcom meeting, and was down there and gave his input and met all the guys down there too. So it's been already an active participant.
And it's great to know he's also a reptile enthusiast.
Yeah.
Yay.
And there are quite a few out there. The giant snake population out on Greater Woods, so we need his help identifying some of those
Cool.
creatures.
I'm happy to do any of that, yeah. There's actually a lot of snakes out there in Greater Woods. It's pretty neat.
Yeah. I'll take a motion, Matt.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to accept Steve as an alternate member to the Greater Woods Subcommittee.
Second.
Cindy was fast. So it's moved by Matt, seconded by Cindy. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, that passes 5-0-0. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So,
Thanks, guys.
so please
welcome
get
to
his
town.
contact
Thank you.
information to me
Someone
so I
likes
can
to
give it to
volunteer.
Amy.
Yeah,
so
you're
she
welcome.
has it all.
You are
Okay.
totally
I have his
welcome.
email. I don't know if there's, but we should get an address too. So,
Yes,
okay,
will do.
great, terrific.
Thanks
Thanks
so
again.
much.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, so now we'll jump back to item number 2, and that's the Horse Hill Nature Preserve Subcommittee charge. Yeah. All right, so I believe all of you have had a chance at our last meeting. We did discuss the subcommittee charge. It's been put out there. It resembles very closely the Greater Woods Subcommittee charge, and also resembles very closely the Wildcat Falls Conservation Area Subcommittee charge. So we've been trying to bring some consistency. Last year, or actually earlier, I think last year or earlier this year, we became consistent on appointment dates and timings and all that. So we have that worked out, and this is kind of the last piece to bring all 3 subcommittees in alignment. So my question, so the commission's already discussed this once. I asked the subcommittee to come and provide input because we'd like to hear what you have to say. Peter, you're welcome to join
Yeah,
us.
come on.
You are a member of the subcommittee, so.
I have a question.
Yeah, and anyone from the public who has a question, you feel free to ask as well.
Sharon, are you not officially appointed yet? They're waiting to.
Not- not- Not yet.
She's going to
No,
be a
but-
member of
but
the
she-
committee.
but-
So
but
she's a
if-
virtual member.
If she has a comment, she's welcome to join us, but she will have to sign the form. So, but yeah, go ahead, Deb.
What do the other committees do? I don't see attendance addressed in this, and that has been an issue for us, where we've had some committee members who join and have great intentions, I'm sure, and they're wonderful people, but life happens, and they simply never come. And there's kind of no way for us to have in writing, how do we... I was kind of hoping there'd be something at least addressing attendance, or at least putting in here that we can make our own policy about attendance. What do we do about attendance? We need to do something. It's not fair for people to hold that seat forever and absolutely never come year after year.
Right.
It's a valid point.
What do you all think? So do you have a suggested route for this, or answer for this question of yours?
I don't have one on the top of my head. I'd like us to be consistent with the other committees. Maybe we've hit this a little earlier than others because we've been around longer. So people have joined and had
There's
great
yes to that,
enthusiasm,
right.
and then it wanes, but they don't want to give up their seat because they still love Horse Hill or whatever. But we need them to give up their seat, and yet we don't want to be rude.
Jim,
But we really need them to give up their seat.
maybe we can set I'm sorry. We can set a amount of meetings to attend. If they don't attend a certain amount of meetings, they can be disqualified to be on a committee.
So the commission has bylaws, and our bylaws state that if you have 5 unexcused absences, the commission can recommend to the town council that a person be removed. Same thing would have to happen here. This is the body that makes the appointments. You folks could make a recommendation for removal for non-attendance, but the actual action, I believe, has to come from the commission in the long run, or from the person themselves resigning.
Which would be fine with us.
That's fine. Let's just have some consistency, whatever Greater Woods and whoever else might want.
None of the other subcommittees have
An
addressed-
attendance
have had to-
problem yet.
have had to address this yet.
Yeah,
so.
we at Greater Woods, we actually have monthly meetings. And, everybody seems to show up.
Well, we did for many, many years.
You're in the building process.
Yeah.
And when we were in the building process 10 years ago,
Yeah.
that was great.
Yeah.
Now we're pretty much built out. And so to get a consistent, there's 3-4 people that consistently show up, and there's 3 or 4 that consistently don't show up. And Matt was our representative last year, and he knows who it is. And we've got other people that got enthusiasm and want to do it, but we can't put them in there because we don't have any open slots. And I think some people, and I've seen this other places, but sometimes it's a resume builder. I'm on the Horse Hill Nature Preserve
Okay.
subcommittee. When they go apply for jobs and stuff, you write your resume and they got all these things on there and it looks good, but they haven't made a meeting one.
Well, since you brought up my history on the Horse Hill Subcommittee, I'll also say that having been on the Horse Hill Subcommittee for a while, your scheduling of meetings is pretty tough to follow. In fact, I can't even follow it. I tried to make a meeting and didn't know when it was, couldn't, get an answer to an email, and just didn't know. A meeting passed, and I just didn't know about it. Because I had, I was at your last meeting to bring some things up. So it helps if you're, scheduling your meetings and posting them early so that those folks can make it. But, there's that. There's that too,
I agree with you there.
Yeah.
We have been lax in some of that. And
I mean,
what
even
would
in the
like to
last meeting.
Would like to do is by January 1, post the next 4 meetings for the year.
Perfect. I mean, that's going to get better attendance.
Right.
Not with the people we're talking about. Maybe with you, Matt. But these people, they get emails, they get sometimes calls. I mean,
Yeah.
And just on a
They
quick
know.
side note, we
and it's in
do,
the minutes every single time.
we do have a calendar on the main website now,
Yeah.
and we have an easy way to put meetings on there. So if you could get it to one of us, we can, or get it to me. We just post it there real quick, just so it's posted somewhere.
Just so you know, I mean, one guy, as you know, had moved out of town. He was gone, and we still had his seat,
Well,
because no one told, we had no way of knowing.
if you look at what Tim said of 5 meetings, and we can make a recommendation. So we meet pretty much twice a month for the most part. So 5 meetings is 2 months, 2.5 months. So where you're having meetings quarterly, you don't want to. I don't think you want to go 5 meetings.
No, no.
So
I'm thinking more like
right.
3.
Yeah, I think you want to put a time frame in
And
there.
then we approach the commission.
Yeah. And if that's in writing and everybody knows it when they take their position, then they know it in advance.
Right.
And we're not surprising them, it's just these are the conditions. If you can't make the meetings, then we have to.
And after 2 meetings, a polite email to
Yes.
that person
Right.
saying, hey, if you
Miss-
mix the next
yeah, sure.
meeting and
Right,
there's
you're-
somebody waiting for your seat,
Right.
they're going to get your seat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's nobody waiting for their seat, No big deal.
So you're talking about 3 consecutive meetings.
Yes.
No, I would say three in a year's
year.
time.
Yeah, in a year's time, because we might,
We only
sometimes
have
we
4,
boost it
so
up
I mean, basically, if you make one meeting,
here.
you insulate yourself, you know? I mean, because part of the other problem that we have is that we've got these people, but try and get them when you need a project done. You know, it's very difficult. We've got people working out there for us. This young lady here, I mean, she takes care of the garden out there, you know, that we put in under the trees. And she's not even on the committee, but her and her husband come out, they spread bark mulch, they've helped us spread gravel on the trails and stuff like that. And yet we got members of the committee that may make the meetings, but try and get them to do anything else. You know, it gets down to the point where 3 of us, or maybe 4 of us sometimes, are doing all the work, and you got 7 that are getting the glory.
So situations change
Yep.
for people, but the relief for that is that they're appointed for a certain amount of time, and then they have to come through the commission to be reappointed. If someone's having an attendance problem or unable to participate at a level that you think is appropriate, that's the kind of feedback you should provide the commission.
Okay,
agree.
that's
All right.
true. That's
You know,
true.
but that takes 3 years to get there.
It does, but I would have to say that that's probably the exception, not the rule.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, people that are going to be, not doing it now. You look at our commission, you'll see that trail work days and things like that. I'll make 2 of them a year, but I do a bunch of other things for the commission, and the same is true for all the people around this table. We all share the workload, so we're not always. So it's not going to be everybody out there doing trail
no.
work and stuff like
So
that.
if we have a person who's on a committee, and let's say 3-year term, and for the first year, they don't show up at any of the meetings whatsoever, we have to wait another 2 years to get rid of them, or can we
No.
get rid of
No,
them?
I think what he said is we're going to write it in there that
As
if
3
there's
meetings?
3 in a
Okay.
year,
Right.
that they are subject to potentially being replaced.
Your other recourse has always been to come to the commission and say, this person's not showing up, okay? Because we're the body that appoints, and we can unappoint. So,
So whether it's, I would feel whether it's written in or not, if there's that much of a problem, bring it up.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's nothing, part of the beauty of not being written in there is, we can kind of take it on a case-by-case basis and say, this is an issue that we're going to address. So.
All right, so maybe not specifics like saying a number, but have attendance be somewhere in the charge in some way so that we have something when someone comes on board to say this is part of our,
that's the expectation.
these are the expectations.
Right.
It's nice to have some sort of written expectation, so it's not just like, oh, she doesn't like me or something, you know.
No one said that to you, have they?
No.
And it wouldn't be me, it would be Newt.
No, I think that, and I totally agree. Not everybody's going to go out there and spread gravel or
No.
build bridges and stuff like that. And we totally understand it. Roland and I enjoy doing it, and as long as I'm healthy enough, I will do it. But if you have a meeting, you kind of expect people to show up to put their input in. That's why we've got a committee, so that we get not just my input, I don't want to run Horse Hill, and Roland doesn't want to run Horse Hill. We want a consensus to run Horse Hill.
Yep.
And I think in the last year, and it's partially our own fault, I think we've gotten away from that. And you've gotten people gotten discouraged that have been there a long time, and it's...
On the upside, we have some new really good people. We've
Right.
got
Yeah, we
Peter
got
and
some good
Sharon,
people.
and we've got,
Peter?
yeah, that's right, Peter and Sharon, and we have 2 other guys. We have 2 other guys.
Don and Rich.
Yes, yeah. Don. I was trying to think of Don's name, and I couldn't. Yeah, and Richard Maloon.
so how
So
do
we have a lot of really good people. We just want them on the committee.
So how do you want to resolve this? Do we want to, would you like the commission to add some language about attendance? Is that the consensus? And we can take it from there.
Yes, I'd like to see
just,
that.
Just something that the expectations are that you attend meetings, and if meeting attendance becomes problematic, it might be subject.
Appointment to the subcommittee is now the responsibility to attend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just something in there would be very nice.
Okay?
So then when you would appoint them, you would also give them a copy of your bylaws or whatever rules they have to follow?
Well, give me a copy of this.
Well, yeah, okay, I'm sorry, yeah, okay,
Right.
right.
And do we want there to be?
Go ahead, Sharon.
Is there currently a time limit? So if somebody is part of the subcommittee, is there a
Oh, yes.
time to how they're going to serve? How long is that?
3 years.
3 years.
3 years.
Yep.
So the current members are still within the 3 years.
Yeah, and I don't know
Yeah, well,
who rotates
we're
out.
coming up on 16, so.
The terms are staggered.
Yep.
Okay, so there are some members whose terms come to completion on the 31st of July of this year, and some the year after, and some the year after, and we've done it deliberately to keep them staggered, so we're not reappointing the whole
Right.
subcommittee every 3 years.
So.
So are some of them up in July of
Some are up in
16?
July.
Yes.
I see.
And the alternates are up every year,
Alternates are
Not, well,
according to the new charge.
not
Sorry.
according to the new charge, right. Yeah.
So alternates get appointed every year.
No, the way we've structured the current language is every 3 years, because we've been doing Greater Woods every year, and we've kind of,
The alternates also?
including the the
Alternates are 3 years, it says here.
So on Greater Woods, the alternates are every year, the full-time members are every 3 years. In this version of the charge for the Horse Hill, I suggested that the alternates be 3-year terms as well as the full-time members. So, which is in line with what we're doing at Wildcat Falls, so. So we do have a slight inconsistency there, but we can correct that. So I think it'd be good to get some history to see how it's working before we make adjustments and run one subcommittee one way and one another and just see how it goes. So, because again, all it takes is a couple of meetings of the commission and we can change the rules. Of course, we may aggravate people, but we can change the rules. So,
The other thing that surprised me too, Tim, is that we show as a chair and a vice chair,
Yeah.
but you're not showing as a secretary too.
correct.
Is there a reason why that?
Because it's the chair's responsibility to make sure the minutes are done and stuff like that. If you choose to internally appoint a secretary and have the secretary do it, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
I don't. Yeah. We're not precluding a position, but we
Okay.
want to make sure that the meetings can be run. So you
Okay.
need a chair. If the chair's not available, you need a vice chair.
Yep. Okay.
So
I had one other question, and maybe this is only me, and maybe I'm being a little parent. I just wanted to have real clarity
Yeah.
about something. Under the charge, it says, final approval of all recommended activities, alterations, improvements, plans, da-da-da, rests with the Conservation Commission or as dictated by the definitive plan. So, but then if you look at the last page, page 3, down about the 4th paragraph, it says, the type of activities that we would do is formulate, implement, and oversee improvements or alterations to the conservation land. Do I correctly interpret that to be that first we need to get permission from the Conservation Commission for any alterations or improvements, and then we go ahead and implement them? For example, when Matt was part of it, he put in several new trails, for bikers. We didn't come to you guys and ask permission for that. Under this charge, if he had wanted to do that again, I don't expect you will, but if he did, to put in a new trail or to significantly change a trail or modify a trail, would we need to come to you guys for permission?
as written, the answer is yes. You'd have to come for approval for the new trail or a significantly modified trail.
But not if, let's say, we have a water issue and we want to divert around, which we have. We've changed trail course to get farther up from the pond, for example. It's one of the last, big modifications we did. Would we have had to come to you for permission to do that?
I guess that really depends on how lenient the commission wants to be. I mean, ideally, we don't want you to have to come back and forth.
I know, nor do we, which is why sometimes these things just kind of happen.
What we want to avoid, though, is a brand-new trail going in without the commission being aware. Because
Okay. Well, that's what I needed to know.
we have to interact with other people. We get whether it's safety people and make sure the wetlands are being all taken care of, and not everyone is keenly aware of wetland rules and stuff like that. We are, or we should be, at least have access to people who are. So
Okay, I just wanted that to be really clear, because that was a little bit fuzzy.
I want to just point to it. I don't know if permission's the right word. That when you come to us, I mean, it's more of, this is what's going on. This is what we see. This is what we need to do, and so it's not so much permission. It's we just need to know. We're ultimately responsible
Okay,
for what goes on in the subcommittee. So we just need to know.
Yeah,
what's
just-
going on. And obviously,
And that's
yeah.
fine, I just want to be clear, I don't want us to accidentally,
Yeah.
you know, because we're so used to just doing things on our own, you know.
Yeah.
But, for example, if we have a wet problem, we can divert around that wet problem, or we wait to come here and advise you that we need to divert around a wet problem. Because that's the kind of problems that's the sort of thing we do.
So in an emergency situation, I would hope that you would resolve the emergency right away. We meet every 2 weeks, so if you let us know what's going on, we can pretty much handle almost anything on a regular basis. And you have a member of our commission on your subcommittee. So as long as your member is present at the meetings and knows what's going on, it's that member's duty to be letting the commission know what's going on. So you don't actually have to come, okay? But what you should be doing, though, is in your meetings, you should say, hey, we have an issue with this trail. The beaver have knocked down a bunch of trees. The activity is going really strong. We need to divert the trail. Well, bring that up in your meeting. Figure out what you want to do. If you don't consider it a major alteration, as long as our member knows what's going on, and you give us enough time to react, like you don't have it on meeting on Monday and go do it on Tuesday, I think that's fine.
And things like, again, just so everyone's clear,
Yeah.
something that we do very frequently is culverts. You know, we develop a problem, and now we need to go out and they need to put a culvert in. Is that the kind of thing that should be brought here?
Well,
Or,
if you're
again, that's sort of a
playing in a wetland, it really should be. We should know what's going on because
Okay.
we're responsible to the council and DES when it comes to wetland issues.
Okay.
Maintaining a trail is not, we can also just continue doing that, because like now we had a culvert, a big culvert, it got worn away from walking and people going in. It starts, so we laid a new set of gravel on it. And up a little beyond post number 2, we had like a washout from last winter, wash it out. So we laid a new section to kind of fill that section up.
Yeah.
Does that have to come in front of the committee that's like maintaining a trail? To back to its originality when it was there when it was first built.
So maintaining a trail typically doesn't have to, but by the way, we have to talk about the work you did. Let's hold that for us later in the discussion.
Okay.
Okay. So just to keep us on point here with the charge. So it's gray. It's going to be gray. It's the way it is. You're kind of responsible to us, but we're also responsible to the town council.
Yep.
It just tears its way up. And I'd like not to get blindsided, and I think the commission would like not to be blindsided by something.
Yeah, I mean, we tried to come up with a charge that's generic enough to cover the properties, regardless of where they are, but specific enough to give, each subcommittee and us some ability to, I don't want to say enforcement, but to deal with an issue.
Yeah.
So, and this is, it's worked on 2, seemingly so far. So it was the 3rd. So we're going to have to make some adjustments to make it fit everybody.
And we're all
It's fine.
volunteers.
I don't mean to be,
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
want
right.
clarity.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone to leave here unclear.
Okay.
It's fine by me. Frankly, we're done. I mean, Matt was the last one putting in trails, and he's out of there.
And,
So-
and
so
at the time,
we're done.
I was the ex officio, and I was bringing the trail proposals to the
To us.
Conservation Commission and
Yes.
saying, hey, we had a meeting.
Right.
We're going to do
Everybody
I'm
at the
just saying, so
at
it's
even
not-
the subcommittee
It's
said
not like we're out
this.
there doing
No,
new trails. I
exactly.
don't mean to imply that we are. We really are not.
We're in the maintenance
We are in
mode.
total maintenance mode. The thing we usually do now is culverts, diverting around a wetland, handling issues that come up with the
Right.
trails, bringing in some gravel. That's the kind of stuff we do now. So I just wanted clarity.
Okay.
So that's clear. Okay.
All right. So one of the other items that came up is Newt, no offense, but you've been chair for a long time. Do we want to have limits as to how long someone can be a chair before we have a required rollover in that position?
My vote would be no.
Okay. Again, it wasn't an offense. It wasn't
I
saying
don't
that
take
you...
it as an offense. I mean, each year I've said, hey, somebody want to sit in this chair versus me, it'd be fine by me.
Well, I
That's
sat
the
in
problem. I
it.
mean, if we set a limit on Newt, someone else would have to take that job, and Lord knows, we don't want to.
So the only comment I have is you certainly have to have the election. It has to be an official act.
Yep, okay.
We do every
Okay.
year.
If you all decide you want to keep Newt in place or whoever else in place, it has to be an official act.
We do. We have
We
a
do,
vote. It's
yeah.
in the minutes. Every year
yeah.
we have the
Yeah.
vote in the minutes.
Okay.
That's the problem, though. I mean, if you have no one else who wants the job, I don't want to
Right,
force him out of
exactly.
that. If someone else wanted to step up, Believe me, I think Newt would step aside.
Yeah, I think we mentioned that that could cause disbanding of a subcommittee or something if, you
Yeah.
know, you require the chair to step down.
Yeah, it could be a
Yeah.
problem.
All right.
Then again, anybody else should feel free to step up if anybody wants to step up. I've done my stint. I'm done.
I did it for 4 years.
That's right,
so-
he's done it, I've done it.
Yep.
Newt's done it.
Okay, any other comments on the charge?
No, I mean, I've read it a number of times, and I, you know, my main question was, how, as Deb brought up, you know, how do we make sure that people if they sign up, they step up.
Yeah, okay. Well,
That's my main thing. The rest of it, I don't think any of it's unrealistic, you know, I mean, like I said, we've built, we're in the maintenance mode now, so to come back and say we want to put in a totally new trail or something like that, I don't think you're going to see it happen.
Yeah.
So I think it's reasonable if we could just make that change due for membership
Okay.
requirement, so to speak.
All right, so let me propose that I work the language, and we'll bring this back to our next meeting for a vote. Okay? You're welcome to attend, but you don't have to. So
You'll send it out to us.
I'll send you what's being proposed,
Yeah,
yeah?
that's fine.
Yeah, so if you have comments, let me know before.
I just want to, again, just for clarity's sake, I'm assuming that it's going to be in a similar fashion to one of these, is a single title,
Yeah.
marked attendance, and it's just, so the wording here is not going to change anywhere, I'm assuming, right? We're not,
Yes.
and we're just going to add a single blurb in there about attendance or membership. And that's, again, something that we probably should add or can add to the other subcommittees.
You could actually put it where full-time members should be residents of the town of Merrimack. You could put it in that paragraph if you
Right.
wanted. That's sort of the requirements of
Yeah.
for participation. Throw a sentence after that.
And do we want any difference for full-time versus alternates? Like, I believe, isn't there a difference for us? Our attendance, if we're an alternate versus a full-time? Isn't there different attendance rules?
I'd have to look, I mean, I've got the bylaws in my briefcase, but
Yeah.
I can look at that.
Just a question, if, you know, you want anything different for full-time versus alternates, but.
Since they serve the same amount of time, I'm of the opinion that they have the same
Same attendance
criteria.
rules.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think so. I would be willing to see the same criteria.
Okay. Good, just throwing it out.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's fine. This is the time to do it. Any other thoughts on the charge, or are we done with the charge? Okay, I'm not done with the agenda item, but because I want to handle some appointments tonight. But are we done with the charge?
By consensus,
I'm happy
yes.
with it.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, good. All right. So with that said, then the full-time slot that's open is the slot that was held by Adrian. Do I have it correct, Adrian
Yes,
Cody?
Adrian Cody.
Okay.
So it'll be this one.
So with that said, we have a full-time slot open, and we now have 3 alternate slots open. 2 of them, which are I'm going to propose that we leave the current members there as alternates, or allow them to come forward and become a full-time member. And I think that's why Peter's here, right? Peter would like to move up the chain and have a full-time position on the committee.
Sounds great.
And I know Sharon has applied to the committee as well. Your intent was to be a full-time member as well if this spot was available. True?
Well, I guess I'm questioning what's a full-time member?
So really the difference between a full-time member and an alternate member is the full-time member has voting rights at all meetings. An alternate member only has voting rights when when a full-time member is not in attendance. So.
So there's no difference for now.
Yeah, right, I was gonna say, which means.
No problem, you'll vote all the time.
So you still participate.
full-time.
You're still part of the conversation. You still have the ability to add your thoughts.
Participate, yeah.
The chairman should still recognize you and allow you to participate. So it's not like you're a silent partner in the background, okay? So that's the only difference.
as a point of interest, Tim, one of the, and I haven't spoke to her yet, but one of our permanent members, I'm going to ask if they would consider going to an alternate position because they haven't made the last 4 meetings anyhow.
Yeah. But, yeah.
And then maybe we could move
Yeah,
Sharon up, huh?
Angela hasn't made in Bazoo.
Angela the same way. Well, she's an
She is an
alternate.
alternate, yeah.
Okay.
Angela's an alternate. Amanda hasn't made the meetings either, so.
Yeah.
I was going to talk to her and see if she'd be willing to step back to a alternate position, which if we do, then I'd like to open up for Sharon.
Mhm.
But until we get a commitment from her, you know.
Okay.
It's understandable. I mean, you want people attending your meetings to be the ones voting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let's take up the full-time member slot, since that is an open slot with the previous charge or the current charge, however you want to look at it.
You have a motion, Cindy?
Oh.
It's our ex officio member. Matt was the chair of the other subcommittee. That's why I let him make the motion.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay, yeah. Okay, I make a motion to move Peter up to the open alternate, open full-time position, and put Sharon in as the alternate for now, until we know whatever's going to happen.
Ooh, a double motion, I like it.
A double-
Second it.
Seconded, okay. So the motion is to put Peter as the full-time member whose term would expire on July 31st of 2016. Okay. And replace Peter's alternate position with Sharon, whose term term expires on July 31st of 2017. Of course, in 16, when we have more positions available, things can change. So, but that's the way it would be for right now. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions. That carries 5-0-0. Thank you. Thank you for taking that on.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us.
Sharon, finally, you have your own
Yes.
official, because after all the work she's
I
been
know.
doing, she's been one of the most active members for the past year.
Yeah.
Okay.
She hasn't missed a meeting yet.
I know, really, and that's not even being an alternate.
All right, so let me make sure I've covered most of the points. So while we have you, there's been 2 items going on in Horse Hill. One of them is there's increased beaver activity, which Peter has documented in photos for us. I believe, Deb, you've been out there. I know Matt's been out there. I visited it on Saturday as well. Any thoughts on it?
We have to correct it. I mean, it looks like there's been a breach, because the water has drained down
Yes,
somewhat.
the water has,
so,
must have breached and,
Yeah, for
so
some
it's not on the trail anymore for the
Right,
time being. It
for the
looks pretty
time
good.
being.
And hopefully it'll stay that way through the winter as it freezes up. I don't know how much activity there will be during the winter.
Yeah, I don't know. But I would love to. I don't know what the deal is with these beaver deceivers or these water levelers. Can we get something out there? What does that take?
I've called the company already, and
Super.
I've not
Super.
I've not had a call back, but I know he's a little busy right now, but he's good about calling me back. So as soon as he gets available and he can come down here and check it out. That's why I wanted the map. I was like, I can't just say it's out here in Horse Hill. It's by the bench.
They get 2 seconds to stop, send
Yeah.
a photo, send an email.
Yeah.
We
So,
can all work so much faster.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's
That may,
when he's out there, he can go take a look at it, and as he can come up saying, like, I can do this or this. So there's a bunch of different options.
Great.
So I
and
don't.
those might be the beavers that are coming up from the Watson place, because she's had a tremendous amount of problem in the last year and a half with beavers flooding her property. So
Every 2 years, they kick the kids out, and they have to go somewhere. So.
Stream they come.
Is there any reason why we can't, as a committee for the subcommittee, go up there and get rid of one of the dams or whatever they're building next to that bridge so the water will flow correctly underneath it and not be a hindrance to go over the trail?
So
If you get rid of a dam,
I don't know if it's
But if you get rid of it, they're going to put it back.
Oh, yeah.
so it is a dam.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
there's three of
That
them.
was it.
They'll build it the next day.
It's
I've fought beavers in the
unbelievable,
past.
Roland. Their abilities are unbelievable.
I've seen
I have a
that.
whole newfound respect for them.
And what,
breach in there right there.
So we don't trap, is what I also, we don't trap beaver anymore.
So what we've learned is that if you remove beaver, the beaver will just populate more, okay? After a while, they will self-sustain a population. That means they will limit the number of babies they have, and that limit is done because of food supply and other things. And when the food supply goes, the beavers go as well, which is probably what's happening by the Watson property. The food supply is dwindling, they've also been reproducing, and they're moving. Eventually, they'll probably move out of the Watson property and move to where we are, either closer to the Sauhegan River or closer to the sand pit. And we'll see the activity move. It's going to change all the time. So whatever we do about dams and things like that, they'll fix them. Or if they decide there's a better grocery store somewhere else, they'll go somewhere else. So
We definitely want to keep them around post number 3. Definitely want some beavers there. They are faster than I am. That's all I got to say.
And they're already in the sand pit. There's another
They
one.
were already in the sand pit?
Yeah,
Is that right?
Yeah, and they were there a few years ago. Remember, Deb? The sand pit was almost completely flooded,
That's right.
and then it
That's right.
drained out
I
when the
was
beavers
shocked it
moved
drained,
out.
Yeah.
Because we had a breach a while back by post number 3, and the wife and I, when she could walk, we went up and we threw some stones and some pieces of wood just to stop it. Next day, the beavers are right there, and that thing was plugged. So if we lose them there, we get a breach, we'll probably lose the whole dam, unless somebody gets in and fixes it up. You know.
So let's see what our consultant says, and then we'll take it from there.
Great.
In the meantime, if we have to do emergency activities to keep water off the trail, I don't see any reason not to do it. Or do you have a thought on that?
I think I've already done it.
Yes. Yeah, I did take a look. So, yeah.
Yeah, I took there was a down tree, a large down tree that somebody cut, and I just took the butts of the tree and laid them around and packed leaves and dirt up against them, kind of like making a pseudo beaver dam, just to protect the trail. And I dug a trench behind it, so now the water just goes right back under the bridge. So I think it's kind of
Yeah.
temporarily fixed.
I think it's in our best interest to work with the beaver as much as possible because they're smarter than we are, and they have all night.
Yeah, they've got all that.
Oh, yeah.
That's their full-time job.
Yeah.
It's not
Nothing
ours.
better to do.
Okay, good.
All right. So
Excellent.
one last item. This is kind of a hard subject, but this material on the culvert that goes over that allows the stream to run through is not allowed. It has asphalt byproducts in it, and it can't be that close to the wetland.
Okay.
Okay, which unfortunately means it has to come out.
Yep.
So the other spot up near post 3, where it's right on the crest, or right on the crest,
On the crest.
keep an eye on that, because if it really runs far, it's going to run into the wetland. It has to go a good distance. Maybe recompact it a little bit more. You just keep an eye on it over the spring season and see if we have any movement of the material.
Okay.
If the material stays in place, it's not so bad.
Packed pretty good
But-
now. It's not down 100%, but it's not bad.
But
I'll keep an eye on it.
This, we'll get in trouble for.
Okay, now, if we remove the large sections and that gets packed down, would it still be okay? Even though it's on
This-
top of the culvert?
No, it's in a wetland.
It's in a wetland
That
area.
whole area was a wetland that had a minimum disturbance. We had to actually go through DES to put in that whole thing up until that stream crossing, okay?
Yeah.
So, in fact, when you look at the maps that Kyle passed out, you can see all the wetland markers all the way up and through, and the small culverts that go underneath the trail that allow the wetlands to join. But that whole area, up until you get 40 feet beyond that stream crossing, can't have material like this.
All right.
It has to be clean fill. It can be gravel and stuff like that. So, I know it's tough. I know you put a lot of effort in it. I know your intentions were great,
Whatever.
okay?
Well, we gotta do what we gotta do.
Yeah,
But-
live and learn.
But we'll get in trouble for it, so it has to come out.
And that's not the same stuff that we have in the parking lot, is it?
I don't know. I picked this off of the top of the
Yeah,
culvert.
I think that's a different thing than what they used in the
Yeah,
parking lot.
the parking lot is outside of the wetland
But
itself.
still, I
Yeah.
think it's a different grade, different.
Yeah, so where we were planning on doing the parking lot, it'd be outside of the no disturb buffer. Yeah, you need to have your mic on.
That's all,
Roland.
I'm sorry.
So,
It's on.
so, All right? So I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we'll get in trouble for it.
Okay, so what can we use in a culvert if we have to put something back in there?
Gravel, sand, clean fill, okay?
All right.
Okay, wetland rules,
Okay.
I can find you the number of it, but basically it can't be this,
Okay.
okay?
We'll help you, Newt. We'll all get out there with shovels and a
And
wheelbarrow.
you can
We won't
take
make
it to
you
the
do
current
this
parking
anymore.
lot and put it next to it, outside the wetland buffer zone, no problem, okay? But it can't be there,
All right.
so. All right,
Yep. No problem.
okay,
Okay, thank you very
thank you all.
much.
All right, so that takes us to the Ned Pipeline. Lucas, whenever you're ready.
Need to get my jacket from behind it. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
For us? With the new charge,
Yeah,
because you'll have 10.
yeah. Since Peter went up and, you know,
Good.
so I think we have another alternate open.
So either Dawn or
Yeah.
Feel free to take an open spot. Yeah, so we have a sign-in sheet. If you could put your name in there and put your company affiliation or address, whatever you prefer. Usually residents put their address and other folks put their company, so. And then as you speak into the microphone with the green light on, if you could state your name so our minutes taker can have that, all that information. So we take the minutes off the video of this meeting. The meeting's being taped right now, just so you're aware. So
Are we good to start?
you are, yeah. It's just, it needs to be bright green. If you push that button, there you go.
So my name is Kasia Ingram. Did you misspell that for you?
As long as it's in the sign-in sheet, we're good, yeah.
Okay. So Kasia Ingram, I'm the environmental permit lead for Kinder Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
And my name is Adele Fiorello, and I am the environmental permit lead with Normando Associates.
Okay.
So the purpose of the meeting tonight is to meet with you to discuss local mitigation opportunities that we may be able to include in our compensatory wetland mitigation plan that we will be submitting as part of our wetland permit application for the Northeast Energy Direct project. So the context of what we are talking about tonight would be for any of our permanent impacts that occur with our wetland crossings. So during construction, we typically have a 100-foot easement. At wetland crossings, it's generally neck down to a 75-foot workspace area. During operation of the project, we maintain a 50-foot permanent easement across all of the areas that we're crossing for the project, so that includes the wetland crossings. Within that 50-foot operational easement, we maintain a 10-foot area that's centered over the center line in an herbaceous state to allow for periodic checks, surveillance of the pipeline. And then also in forested wetlands, within 15 foot of either side of the pipeline, we can selectively cut trees that are over 15 feet in height. So there is a permanent conversion within wetlands where we have the permanent conversion of the cover type from forested to emergent or scrub shrub. So those constitute our permanent wetland impacts. So that's what we would be mitigating for in this case, and what we are reaching out to you to discuss. As part of the permitting process, there are two different avenues that we can take with this. One of the routes is to evaluate local projects that we could include. Going that route, the impacts that occur within the town, if we have a local project that could be included, the compensation or mitigation for those impacts would be directly benefited to the town in which those impacts occurred. The other route is to go in the in lieu fee direction, which is payment into the Aquatic Resource Mitigation Fund or the ARM Fund. I'm not sure if you all are familiar
Yes.
with that
Yeah.
process. Okay.
Yep.
So that's a little bit different in that the impacts are mitigated through payment to that fund, and then the town isn't necessarily granted that money. You would have to apply for the funding, and then you're up against other groups, other towns within that same watershed, so you're not necessarily guaranteed the funding for impacts that occur in your town. So it's the state's preference and our preference to meet with the towns where the impacts are occurring to see if there are any local projects that potentially fit within the framework of the impacts that are resulting from the project that we could include and therefore directly benefit the town. So I'll let Del kind of explain a little bit more about the nuances of what the state looks for and the different parameters, but our goal tonight was to meet with you to give you a little bit more information about what we're looking for and kind of the time frame and what types of projects fit into the framework of the impacts from the project and what we could potentially include.
Okay, so as Acacia said, I'll give you a little bit more background on what the Wetlands Bureau looks for in terms of a mitigation project. And they like to see if you do conservation properties, purchase an easement or in fee, they want to see a third-party easement holder. They want to have some idea of what the property provides in terms of natural resource values. Does it have potential for rare species habitat? Does it have prime wetlands? Is it adjacent to existing conservation lands? So they look at all those different parameters and see what the conservation values are. They also link the mitigation package to the functions and values of the wetlands that are being lost and try and match that to the mitigation proposal. The other important component is time frame and ability for the town to see the project through to the end. The time frame needs to meet within the schedule of the permitting process because they like to see their mitigation up front. We're talking about no net loss of wetland values, and so in order to say, you can do your project by impacting these wetlands, we want our mitigation close to the front end of that project because we don't want to have that loss in functions and values for a 5-year period or however long it's going to take that the permit is valid for. So schedule is important because land values and the things that are required to put it under legal conservation easement, to find a third-party easement holder, which also includes often a fee so they can monitor it into perpetuity. So all the dollars add up as to what it could cost. So typically the ARM fund can support portions of projects, but we need to have some indication that either the town has funding through, I don't know if you get current use monies, through those tax revenues, some money to help support the project to see it to the end. And as Keisha said, oftentimes there's, non-government organizations like the Southeast Land Trust or people like that who can hold easements, and they have their fee associated with the cost too. So, so typically the cost can help you if you already have a project in mind and you have some funding for it and you have some advance interest from a conservation group, and then the monies that would be used from this project can put you over that hump is what we'd be looking for. You said that you're familiar with the ARM
Absolutely,
fund, and are you familiar with the calculation process that the state
I am.
undergoes?
I'm not sure all the members are, but it's identifiable in the wetland rules as well.
Yeah, and you can just Google
Yeah.
New Hampshire ARM Fund calculator, and it pops right up.
Right,
And,
yeah. Typically a 10 or 15 to 1 type deal happens as well as
yes,
projects.
It links to the mitigation ratios.
Right,
It links to the land values that the state has determined for the town. there is a 20% administrative fee that the state gets to run the fund. I know there's some new mitigation
Assuming
rules
it
that are-
goes into the fund directly as opposed to you supporting a project locally.
Right.
Correct. Right.
Yes.
So there's a difference there. So that 20% can be saved, you might say.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, spend more wisely.
Use more wisely, absolutely. Although the DES probably wouldn't agree with that. They like the funding, but
No, not necessarily. So a little background, just so you're aware, we've submitted in our comments to FERC a strong desire that the funds be spent locally and not be spent on the ARM funds, because we are familiar with the process. We're in our third wetlands mitigation project in the last 4 years right now.
Great.
So we had to do a major one with the outlet malls going in. So that one came in. What we did is we used those mitigation dollars locally to preserve some upland buffers to a wetland. So we've gone down that road. The preserving upland buffers, which is an option you can do. We had another project where we have to replace a bridge between Nashua and Merrimack here, and as part of the bridge replacement, things had to be wider and all that, so there was a wetland impact, and we used dollars to mitigate that wetland impact to restore a wetland area and also support further damage to the wetland area, and we know that locally is our Red Maple Trail project that we did. We took ATVs and other undesirables from going through a very rare natural community. And did stuff like that. So, and now we're working with a local developer who was looking to develop a new area in town and has wetland mitigation involved. And we're looking to be the third-party easement holder for upland areas as well on that one as well. So we've kind of been down this road. The other part is our town values conservation land tremendously, and over the early 2000s, put more than $1 million away for our commission to utilize for the preservation of land and maintenance of our current properties. So we have a fairly healthy set of resources available to us to both protect our lands as well as to do further conservation easements, purchases, and projects. So I think we're a little unusual in the state, at least certainly in the communities impacted by this project, in that sense, where we have resources that are at our full control and vote. So it's not like a town meeting or anything. We can just decide to do it at a
well,
meeting
I
here.
was going to ask you, sometimes Conservation Commission funds have to go to town meeting, and no. Okay.
It's all been allocated. We have them in a fund. The fund's already been created per RSA 36-A. The only time we have to include other people is if we're actually going to purchase and fee property.
Okay.
And that involves the town council, which is a vote, not a town meeting, just a vote of the town council and approval. So we can act rather quickly if we need to, quickly as in months, as opposed to wait for the next annual meeting cycle.
Great.
So just a little background. I'm really interested in understanding what your timeline is to, we talk about a time frame and stuff like that because projects tend to take a while to get them from concept to fruition.
Yes.
And I'm not sure that we have a single project that's ready to go, but scoping or understanding what your time frame is and what you think your impact fee or penalty is going to be would help us as well.
So we are anticipating making our application the first quarter of 2016. That would be when we would want to have some preliminary information for any potential projects that you have that we could include in our initial application. So at that point, we would just need a description of a project and some mapping to support it enough to get in front of DES to have them review it. Because, as I'm sure you're familiar, ultimately they're going to have the say as to whether the mitigation is suitable for the impacts from the project. So that is our next step. And then, depending on their response, if they think it's suitable, then we would provide them additional information at that time. As far as the overall project schedule, our current schedule would be anticipation of a FERC certificate, the fourth quarter of 2016, beginning construction 2017, with in-service fourth quarter 2018. So that's the overall project timeline. And then, as Adele mentioned, the mitigation would have to move prior to or concurrent with the project construction activities.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's helpful. Yeah, because I didn't come tonight prepared to say, hey, let's do this or let's do that.
Sure, and we weren't expecting you to have a project ready to hand us tonight. We just wanted to meet to give you some additional information. I wasn't sure how familiar you were with this process. As you mentioned, some towns aren't familiar with the process at all. You're very fortunate in that you have a lot of experience, so that's great. What we would like to see within 30 days of our meeting tonight, if you can get us some information about potential projects, or if you have one good project, that's ultimately what we're looking for, not necessarily a list. But if you do have one good potential project, get us some information, a description of what it is and the mapping, something for us to begin evaluating. Certainly sooner than that if you have it available. And if you do have anything right now that you want to potentially discuss, understanding you may not have all the details, but if it's just something you want to bring up at this time, we'd be happy to discuss it with you too. But yeah, our timeline is more within 30 days, having something a little bit more substantial to discuss.
Yes, one of the issues we run into is when you deal with, say, a purchase of an upland buffer area or an easement of it is that you run into confidentialities or negotiations that need to happen. And sometimes they need to happen in a closed door in a non-public session as far as we're concerned. So I'm a little hesitant to go too deep into some items because of that sensitivity.
Sure.
Especially when we want to negotiate a value that we're willing to, to work with,
Sure.
And some people are also maybe potentially interested in donations and things like that, and would prefer not to have it be made publicly known until things are about ready to go, you might say. So that's just something to keep in mind, and you probably are aware of that.
Yeah.
So. The only concern I have with the 30 days is the holiday season is coming, and we have a limited meeting schedule over the next 30 days. I think 30 days is probably a little tight. That's just the way things fall.
Yeah.
Because we meet once more before the holidays start, and then only once in January, because of everything that's going on in holidays and things like that.
Okay.
We could probably put something together, but it may have to be into our first meeting in February before we could give you something that we could all sit here and say, yes, that's something that we need, that we could do.
Okay.
Just the realities of the situation. So, I mean, we can strive to do better than that because we'd like to be partners in this. If the pipeline's
Sure.
coming, we want to do this correctly, and we'd like to take advantage of that opportunity. I think. Don't let me speak for anything else here. But I think it'll be hard for us to meet a 30-day deadline with the holidays coming up. So I know I have some time planned. So.
Will that?
Do you need it for your SEC application?
Well, we understand that the mitigation negotiations will start after we file. So if there's things that come up afterwards and we can incorporate it into a future mitigation proposal, I think that'll be fine. Like Keisha had said, really it's a matter of sitting down with the Wetlands Bureau and saying, this is what we've gotten from the towns. Do you want us to take it does it seem compelling enough to take it for the next step? And they'll say yes or no. And then we really start getting in, if they say yes, we really start getting into the nitty gritty, and that's when the real hard lift starts.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think, part of the documentation for the application will be that we've met, that you have interest in participating in proposing some town-specific mitigation, and just kind of a little placeholder in there so that we can.
Well, it's been our consensus since day one that we would like to be a participant in mitigation and to keep the mitigation within our town.
Okay.
If nothing else, it helps leverage the funds that we have. to do good things. So
Yeah, I think our, and understandable with the holidays, I know this is a tough time for meeting and coming up with potential projects. We do have to balance that with our schedule and our submission of our application and making sure that we're getting the appropriate information included. But I think it sounds like we can work with with that. And
we're also familiar with how DS operates, so I know that we can insert ourselves if we think we're being overly pressured around the holidays or whatever. You know, we can talk to Lori and others. So
Okay, good.
This is what kind of the one saving grace is we do have a history with DES and some mitigation projects, so they know we're serious about it.
Yeah, and they know that we know how to put plans together and make things happen.
good,
So,
that helps then.
yeah, that helps. Our experience helps. So,
Good. Okay.
anything else? Any other comments? Questions? So, the only question I have for me, and it's probably going to be hard, is to try and get an idea of what we think the value of your mitigation is going to be, because that may sway, or because right now we have money available to us, we have long-term plans for that money, and we've already allocated pieces of it as well. Without doing the surveys and stuff, you don't know what the wetland impact's going to be. But if they had a range or any kind of idea, at some point, whether it's 2 weeks from now or whatever, just kind of give me an idea if you don't mind. Pass it along.
Sure. Yeah, we can do that.
Because if you were to come back and say, well, we really think it's going to end up being $1,000, well, I'm not sure how hard I'm going to work for $1,000. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. It does depend on what your impact level is. So.
Yeah.
On some projects, I can change $1,000 just by getting volunteers to come out and help me do something. So, you know what I mean? So.
I can tell you, we are still working to evaluate the impacts, and that will be an ongoing process. But because this is strictly the permanent impacts that we are talking about, the temporary impacts will be mitigated for on-site. So we will be returning those areas to pre-construction condition, restoring them on-site. So this is just a permanent impact. So I think we're in the 1 to 1.5 acre range of our permanent impacts. We'll have a more fine-tuned number, but just to give you a little bit of context for now,
that helps. Yeah.
That's probably where we're looking at.
Okay. So before I close this off, does anyone in the audience want to make a comment or suggest anything? Any questions? All right. All right. We good? Okay. Slightly off subject. I learned today that that you folks, larger organization, has asked for a survey of one of our conservation properties. Apparently, there was some miscommunication as to who owned or where that survey request should go. But John Prue has forwarded it along. If any of you speak with John on a regular basis, let him know that it's news to us today, and so we have not had an opportunity to discuss or even think about what we should be doing with a survey agreement and stuff like that. So, all right, and that's something that we would have to do in a public session. So we don't meet again for 2 more weeks.
Okay.
Okay, so there'll be no action on that for at least 2 weeks. Okay.
I'm not familiar with that specific request, but I will.
I think the gentleman in the back there is taking a note. So.
Yeah.
So.
We'll
yeah.
find the appropriate person.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will try to get back to him in an email to make him aware of this as well. So.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Do you smell yet?
Yeah.
I do smell something too. As soon as that fan started blowing.
Yeah. All right then. Well, thank you for coming out.
Thank you. Thank you for your input.
Yes, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate meeting with us, and we'll be in touch.
Okay, great.
Junk.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really an open window disguised as a heater.
Don't light any matches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Right, thanks.
Good night.
Yeah. All right. So, you know,
You must have something to say.
Well, not on this particular.
you would have to come up front, Tom.
Come up and join us, Tom, please. I was expecting some witty commentary from you behind you.
No, this is just, I'm fried on this, so there's very little witty comment. What I do have,
The light on, Tom?
yeah,
Okay.
what I,
Yeah, it's-
what I do have is what we took to the governor last Wednesday, when the Municipal Pipeline Coalition met with her. And they were talking about the impacts of the discharges from the compressor station and the metering station. And I don't know if you've seen any of this or anything, but I made copies of the materials that we sent.
Yeah, I think you've shared some of that stuff with us. If not, I can forward it. I haven't
Are
actually.
these the same as the emails that you sent out? You sent out a couple emails just recently.
No, this doesn't
No,
look
this is
familiar.
different.
Look like
This is different.
Okay.
Okay, this is the stuff that we handed the governor, sort of a quick and dirty summary of the potential impacts of the emissions for the blowdowns, and primarily from the compressor station, but also from the metering station. I think the thing that's not included in here is, or maybe it is, I'm not sure, but they're talking about a 800-meter radius for this. Is that when they have a discharge, a blowdown, it's potentially an 800-meter radius around it. That's a half a mile.
Yeah.
So now the other thing to keep in mind is that at the presentation last week that they made, they talked about how they were going to scrub what they were going to put in the pipe at the source before they put it in. So it may make some of these things that are in here may not have an impact because they may have already been removed.
There was an interesting comment by a speaker from the public at the very end of the meeting who pulled out Tennessee gas line. You know, what should you do if you're a first responder and there's an incident? And it talked about the fact that you need to be upwind, I think is the proper term, so that the wind isn't blowing towards you but blowing away from you, and that you need to be monitoring and looking for certain bad things like benzene and other things like that, which they had stated earlier in the meeting would have been scrubbed already out, but now they're telling you that you have to worry about it anyways. So they're inconsistent with their own message.
Well, don't forget that they're going to give you the worst case scenario that they have to deal with because they've got so many pipelines that they deal with.
Yeah.
That they're just, and if I were an emergency responder, I'd be doing that anyway.
Right.
I don't care what they told me they did or they didn't do.
Right.
Just as a matter of precaution and safety for myself and personnel, I would also be looking for those things too anyway. And if they're not there, so much the better. The only thing that I get out of it is that I have suggested to my colleagues, and I put that in an email to them, is that we should be pressing both the SEC and FERC to require Kinder Morgan to do pre-construction air quality sampling as well as provide air quality sampling after, permanent air quality sampling after around those sites.
And water,
Okay. Pardon?
and water, and any groundwater. I mean, I would think we're going to do both, right?
Yeah, but this is just an additional wrinkle, if you will, or an additional concern that's been raised recently. And so, we were talking about this with the governor and her staff, and they were saying, well, well, if you go to a planning board, I said, well, thanks for mentioning the planning board, because we just went through this with the outlets in terms of the water sampling we required them to do pre-construction and during construction and post-construction, okay, to make sure that the aquifer was protected. So the water pieces, I'm sure that the village district and their consultant have been dealing with that. They made a very effective presentation the other night, and but this is something that hasn't been completely raised before, and so my comment to the staff and to my colleagues on the council through that email was, we should start pushing for this as part of the process, so that we have a baseline that we can start with. And so if there isn't any exceedances, and if you look at what they're saying, they're allowed 50 tons of particulate. They're saying that they're only going to emit 49.33. Okay, so
right.
if they're, I don't know how they get to that, but we've seen enough of where people are backing in the numbers when they know what the EPA limit is or another limit established by another authority is. Pardon? Oh, sorry. Or where you say, well, I've got this much latitude to deal with it. They push right up against it, okay? Because they know if they just stay right under it, then they meet the criteria for that particular issue. So that was just and this does have impacts. It's over. The metering station's over by the river. Fortunately or unfortunately, the prevailing wind blows it into Litchfield and Londonderry. Except when it's going to rain, and then we're going to get it. Because that's how you know it's going to rain around here. You smell the wastewater treatment plant.
Yeah, or the bud plant, one or the other.
Right, one or the other.
Yeah.
One's more preferable.
You either get the hops, or the other stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's
fertilizer.
Yeah. So anyway,
Right.
that's all. That's all I wanted to bring to your attention.
So I have a question for you, though.
All right.
Since Jody's been keeping us pretty up to date on things and activities, but do you know how active the town of Hollis is right now when it comes to the pipeline?
Not very.
So do you know that they're not very?
The
or
town of, or the townspeople of?
The town of.
Not to my knowledge, not much.
Okay, because this this now proposed route goes across Hollis town-owned property as well as Hollis conservation-owned property.
Right.
But yet I've heard nothing. Have you seen any filings from anyone from Hollis?
No, the people that have showed up in Amherst when they were discussing the alternatives were people that were on there, were residents that were on there, that were involved when this thing was coming through before.
Yeah.
Okay, and it appears to me that they're content to let that group handle it.
Yeah.
But taking any kind of formal action, I haven't seen or heard anything from them. Now, they may be doing other things, but
I was thinking of reaching out. I've already done it once and got a very quick reply that said, "Yeah, we're aware. Thanks."
Yeah, and
the reason why I bring that up is because their parcels of land are in the highest habitat marked by the latest analysis, as well as it goes through significant water resources and aquifer.
Right.
Which, if you're a conservation commission, water resources are key in the RSA as to your concerns, and they seem to be ignoring that. So I'm planning on making their conservation commission aware that they, I believe, are ignoring their duties.
Yeah.
Now that's a little extreme, and I'm not going to go to that extreme, but you know what I mean.
Making fans, huh?
It's right. Yeah. Well, I'm still a little perturbed about the town of Amherst, but that's another story.
Well, if you,
They did what they needed to do. I get it.
yeah, and
Yep, I
and
get
if
it.
you saw their planning board meeting from a couple of months ago,
Yeah, yeah.
you
They
know,
got a
you,
nice,
under-
nice big power station going in there
you
too.
understand how that fits in.
Look at those tax dollars, boy. Whew, they're just thinking about dollar signs. Oh yeah,
So
I got it. I get it.
anyway, you'll see I made a handwritten note on one of those pages about that because apparently the emissions from a generating station are much worse
Yeah,
than they are from
yeah,
the compressor station
yeah, yeah, yeah,
or the metering station.
yeah. Good luck to all their businesses over there. Tell me how long they're going to want to stick around when they're smelling that thing all the time.
So, well, it
Do they have a proposed location?
Yeah,
yeah,
it's going to be along the power line route.
in the Bon Terrain Industrial Park.
Yeah, by the railroad tracks and all that good stuff.
Of course, he also inquired to me about the availability of 10 acres of land in Merrimack.
Yeah.
And I said, talk to the community development director. He'll know better than I
Yeah.
what might or might not be available. But his comment to me was he has a water problem over there from what he needs to operate, not from a conservation or a safety or a,
Oh, yeah.
okay. So, because they do have some water over there. I believe that Pennachuck supplies it.
They get a big water tank.
Yeah.
Because they don't have in-ground water available.
And then I
Because they're far enough away from our aquifer, thank you.
yeah. So anyway, that's what I know about that, and I haven't had that much involvement with. I don't think they've been active. I haven't seen anybody from Hollis being active on the coalition.
Yeah, okay.
It was coalitions, mostly communities that have a direct impact with the pipe. Now that it's been changed, that may change, but they're probably taking a look at it and go, over in that end, who cares? How many feet is it?
Yeah.
250, 300 feet coming through there, something like that. But it goes right through. I thought that they were also talking about the potential of the Witches Brook area being a source of water for them.
Yes, they should be concerned about that.
So this could have and certainly the generating station has in Amherst would have that kind of an impact too.
Yeah, yeah. Wind's going to blow their way.
Yep. And I understand that the generating station would have to go through the site evaluation process.
Yeah.
So if they ever get it going. So.
All right. Thank you.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So on this agenda item, a little bit more intervenor status. So I guess we have new news today. We now have a deadline.
Yes, FERC officially accepted the filing today, which was the last day they could accept it. So we need to file for intervenor status by January 6th of 2016.
So we have at least one more meeting before that point, right?
Yes. Yeah, here it is, January 6th.
Right. So, along with that, we've received a quote, you might say, from the town's attorney to file for us and represent us to get that intervenor status done. I believe I forwarded all of you that quote in an email.
Is it around three?
I know my intent was to push it out to all of you.
Was it around $3 grand?
$2,000. $2,000.
Oh, I must have missed it.
Did I not send it?
Did we? Maybe I missed it.
Right. Because I did get a hard copy as well. So the town's attorney is willing to, I shouldn't say we're twisting her arm in any way. She's very willing to help us get that done. But that would be the extent of our agreement with them, because as soon as there's any sort of thought that our interests are legally different than the interests of the town, she's already been procured by the town and would have to stay that way. So now that we have a property of ours directly in the proposed route, I would think that we would have potentially different interests than the town. Potentially not. But so that's something we need to be aware of. So I appreciate her offer, but I'm thinking that we have another meeting. And the reason why I'm thinking that we have another meeting and holding off on taking action on the offer is between now and then there's going to be, beyond what's already happened, a huge flurry of intervenor filings.
There already is.
Yes. Yeah.
There's 7 today, 8 today, I think there was.
So I'm wondering, how does the commission feel about filing for ourselves and saving the $2,000? Do we think an intervenor application is that hard to file for?
No, there's a lot that I've seen that they've done it themselves.
Yep.
Even towns
Yep.
done it themselves.
Okay, so has anyone looked at the rules for intervenor? Because my impression is that you can file, and as long as nobody else says, we don't want that person, you get in. There is no real approval process to speak of. Does anyone have a different thought on this?
I'm just from reading some of them. It made it sound like you're applying, and they have the ability to say no. So I'm not sure. I've been trying to
Okay.
And
look at it a little bit, but
and it seems like ones that aren't people that aren't directly abutted,
Right.
abutters maybe, but I think being we're directly impacted, that I don't think they could say no to us.
Well, that's the thing. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. At some point in time, people could, file and they could say, you have no interest,
Right.
So you're no. But I'm not sure where that line is drawn.
But we probably don't have to worry about that line.
I would think
For
we. I
us,
would think we wouldn't.
Yeah.
However,
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I would also think common sense would prevail and say, you know what, we can't put a pipeline right through everyone's backyard. However, and look where we are. So.
And, would an attorney know the pitfalls that we don't know?
Right. Yeah, don't know. That's so that's kind of why I wanted to throw it up to all of you and to think about it between now and the next meeting, since we have a window.
Okay.
Say, do you think we could do our own filing, or do we think that it's wise to hire an attorney? I can see it both ways.
Yeah.
Okay, so don't make me pressure you or prejudice you. I can see the value of having an attorney who's given us a flat rate fee to get the job done. So if it became a 20-hour job, then they're going to lose money. If it's just a 4-hour job, then they're going to make some money.
We do have some folks that we can talk to about it and see if it's really that big a deal. I mean, we have,
Yep.
and we can do that and start from there. Is there an expiration date on her quote?
No, but I think if we wait too long, I think, because we're going to run into holidays and all that other stuff. But we do have the advantage of knowing that she's going to be doing the paperwork for the town already.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Can we just see a copy of it?
Yeah.
Well, we will, won't we?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
If it's filed electronically, we will.
Yes. That's right.
I'm sorry, it's sly and devious, but it's honest, okay? Anyone watching the meeting, I'm being honest.
Yep.
Right?
And I'm sure it will be, because they prefers it to be filed electronically.
It does,
so.
yeah. And they've done everything else electronically. Just thinking, if we're going to spend money, we might as well spend it as prudently as possible, because it's our responsibility to do so.
Definitely.
So is it okay with all of you that we hold off on the decision to the next meeting, but that we actually be prepared to, no
we'll make
matter
a
what?
decision next meeting.
Yes.
Okay. Makes
Agreed.
sense. If we have a snow day, we'll have to schedule a meeting around the snow day.
Oh, it's not going to snow this year.
Yeah.
I think it snowed like every
Go and spray
meeting
aerosol
last
out the windows.
winter.
Yeah.
Keep it warm.
So by the way, you can look at the rules. They're online as to what it takes to be an intervener, but it says you have to have a directly affected by the outcome of the proceeding.
Right, but and again, so you go look at some of these interveners. I mean,
Right.
people are saying, "Well, my health is direct impact." I mean, and like Tom said, 800 meters away.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
so listen.
So they're again,
including any interest as a customer,
yeah.
okay,
Oh, yeah.
consumer, okay?
Yep.
I'm going to consume the gas, so I think you apply, and you can get it. The rules are a competitor, okay? So Spectra can apply as an intervener, okay? So I don't think it's
Yeah.
a large threshold to overcome.
Yeah.
Right.
So, just a thought. Please evaluate on your own and come back with a differing or the same opinion, please. So, all right. So then the last thing is an attorney. Because I mean, right now we have an action that's that's going to come in front of us at our next meeting, and that is we've been requested survey permission for our parcel. Okay, I will forward that to you. I literally got it late this afternoon,
right.
and I will push it out to all of you so you can see what was asked for.
Did the town sign an agreement?
The town for their parcels, no. But the proposal is no longer going through a town-owned parcel. At least not the parcels that were originally requested.
Yeah.
I haven't gone through every parcel to see if there's another town-owned parcel involved. So
Oh, I see. So they might not even.
the town may not have to worry about a survey agreement any longer now that the former route is off the table.
Okay. Well, we think. We
Hey,
hope.
it could still come back
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, but you know what? I've read the survey agreement. I don't want them on our parcels without
Yeah.
one of us there.
Right. Exactly. Right.
So,
Yeah, so
Why
that
would
comes
we?
the next part of it.
Mhm.
If we're going to allow survey, we need to, and we won't have an attorney to represent us. We as a body need to either assign or appoint someone to act on our behalf of the commission, whether that's a commissioner or someone else, or just like the town hired an attorney. They're not the town, but they're acting on behalf of the town. Or we have to say, okay, this is what we want, and deal with negotiations. So that's something we need to be prepared to discuss at the next meeting as to how we're going to address the survey agreement. So if you have stipulations or requirements, come prepared to discuss it. If you're looking to sink your teeth into something, this is one way to sink your teeth into something. So, then there is always the option of no, right?
Denying permission.
Yeah, that's always an option. It's our property, right? And wait to get our hand forced. So I mean, that's not off the table. So.
There's lots of form letters I could get my hands on to file that.
Yeah. So
If we decide to go that route.
Okay.
So this will be a agenda item on the next meeting.
Next meeting, yeah. Yeah, so what I'll do is I will send out what was sent to me. Yeah, the 21st is our next meeting. So it's going to get tight.
Yep.
Okay. We could theoretically see the attorney say, no, it's too late. Sorry, can't do it. That's a possibility. So if you at all are concerned about that and want to meet before the 21st, let me know. We need at least a 24-hour notice. Okay. So it's okay if you're getting nervous about this or just think it's a good thing to do, then let me know, and we'll schedule a meeting. It doesn't have to be a very long meeting. We can limit the agenda. Okay. So don't sit in your living room thinking, boy, I wish we were going to have a meeting. So all you got to do is make it happen. I know that happens all the time, right? That happens all the time, right? I will also send out the deed for our parcel, so you know what we agree to when we purchase the parcel, okay?
Oh, thank you, Tim.
Because we have a fiduciary responsibility in that deed, in my opinion, okay?
That's great.
All right? All right.
Thanks for Tim. Always thinking one step ahead of
Yes.
where I'm at.
Yes. It's about 5 steps for me, so at least.
We all have a place on this board, right? I can't join you for all your trail projects and all that, but this is my way of contributing, so.
And it's appreciated.
Yeah. just like I love the work you're doing. I keep telling
Oh,
you that,
thank
and I
you.
mean that. I mean it.
I don't feel like it's
filter and
much,
send
so.
it. Filter and send. I like
Okay,
it. As
thank
long
you.
as you're filtering, you know.
Yes, yes, I am.
May I ask, was there a reason why you've come to join us?
You the community.
Ah, okay.
Oh.
Right. I didn't want you to feel left out. If there was a question or a thought.
Nope.
Okay.
I didn't have an agenda other than to listen.
Okay.
okay.
Cool.
Great.
Yep, you're always welcome.
Yes. We have open positions.
Somebody got roped in that way. Yeah,
Right.
seems familiar.
Yeah, yes, that's how I started. I started the meetings.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, they were very nice.
So where are we with an attorney?
Fortunately, the the last lead that I have not heard back from yet. So I will pursue this person. And then with this one, there could be a conflict. I don't think there will be, but and I still have some other feelers out to other people to give suggestions if they know of anyone. I think at this point, a lot of attorneys have already been retained especially that are local.
Right.
And, I've checked at least one place that if one attorney has a conflict, then basically the whole firm is out. So that limits us. But I can, search other states too. So,
Okay.
and see. But I will,
Did you approach any of the attorneys that attended the conference that we had this year? Did you look them up? 'Cause there was 2 attorney presentations there.
from 2 different firms?
I'm not sure if they were different firms or
Oh.
not.
Okay.
So I
Let me
attended.
double check.
I attended one where they talked about the 10 things that have happened legislatively over the last year.
Okay.
So there was 2 people from the same firm.
Oh, okay. And I actually
Male
do
and
have a.
female.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they also did the one about SEC,
Oh, they did. Okay.
and I attended that one. But there was the woman that wrote the book and on roads.
Mm-hmm.
On roads. So she was another attorney that was there.
Classwords. Okay.
Okay.
I
Did
do
you
have an
get
email
my-
at the Nick.
Did you get my email about all the workshops and how to download all the information?
Oh, yes. Yes,
Okay,
that's
so-
true.
so
I'll
you
check
can-
there.
You
Okay.
can find out who the person was from their presentation.
Okay.
So,
Good. Thank you.
yeah. Yeah, and then if you do find someone who has an interest and believes they don't have a conflict, we're going to need to know terms.
Right. Okay.
How do we put them on retainer, that kind of deal?
Okay.
And realize this is a marathon. This is not going to be done in next year.
Oh.
Or the year
right.
after.
Yeah.
Or the year after that. Okay?
Right.
This is a marathon.
The that name is
Potentially.
the guy from.
It has been so
Perfect.
far.
Jason?
He's the one I believe that did the SEC.
Okay, that's what I was afraid of because they're sponsors of that too. Yeah, they're out.
Yeah.
But I'll double check.
But I
if
think
that's
the
same
roads
firm.
woman might be.
Oh, a different.
Yeah, different firm.
Oh,
different
okay.
firm. Yeah. But I think those folks, even during the SEC presentation,
Mhm.
said that they have already been retained,
Mm.
and they even gave a legal disclaimer about the presentation is no, roadmap to, so they gave a long legal.
Yeah. They
And I
did the
think it
lawyer
was-
thing.
Yeah, they did their due diligence to protect the
Mhm.
party that had them.
Okay. Well, let's confirm it, I guess.
Yeah, I just thought of something. Someone else I'm going to reach out to as well.
All right. Anything else on the pipeline activities? Just a quick summary. I did attend last Thursday evening, along with a couple of our counselors. Actually, 3 of them, I believe. Tom, Jody, and Bill. Also, Lon Woods from the MVD was there, and Ron Miner, and a gentleman from Emery and Garrett, their water consultants, who spoke eloquently and who was trying to get shut down by the judge who was moderating, and the public spoke out, and she finally let him finish his talk because he was providing strong factual information. So, yeah, the moderator of the event, retired Supreme Court judge. Not a good choice in my opinion. She didn't handle things very well. She provided her own anecdotes and other stories that were probably, one of them I thought was almost out of line. During the discussion, if she was moderating, she should have moderated. But she seemed to favor the process, which was fine, and wanted to stick to the process. But then when the crowd got wild, she just backed off. So then she had and it's something I took personally. She went to pronounce my name, and I had a hard time pronouncing it after having a hard time pronouncing other people's names. They said, why doesn't everyone just have a last name like Smith or something? And I was walking up to the podium, so I looked right at her and I said, excuse me, but that's my last name. It's my name, and I would appreciate that you'd respect my name. And then I almost said to her, and your last name is Smith too, correct? But I didn't. I held my tongue, because it's not. So I just thought it was inappropriate. So if the SCC can see what went on there, they should choose a different moderator to represent them in the future. Or if she was hired by Kinder Morgan, well, they should do a better job too. But there's a lot of things they can do a better job at. So, oh well, sorry, I'll get off my podium now. But
Continue, please.
Besides that, it was pretty much the typical. It was far less attended. If I had to venture a guess, 200 or less people. They had a little info map session in one area and then the talk going on. No new information provided, a lot of salesmanship going on. A lot of avoidance of answers to questions if they thought they were too sensitive to answer. And then you just had to say, okay, well, that's their answer. You just have to deal with it because they're not going to give you a different answer. So, and there were a number of people from the public who spoke out and a few interesting comments. So transcripts should become available. So.
Yeah, there's already there's some one-liners out there already, some brief.
Yeah, I know the newspaper got it, so,
Yeah.
but yeah, basically, they talked about the benefits of the lower prices and things like that, and I said, well, what if I prefer to pay the price I'm paying for electricity right now so I can have the trees, the animals, the water to drink, water, it's an important thing, so, oh well. All right. So that's all I have on this agenda topic. Anyone have anything else? So we'll go to new business then. Under new business is the gates on South Grader Road. It's probably not really a new item because we've had it in the stewardship plan and we've brought it up over a number of times. But now that we now that we own even more property and don't have that issue to worry about, do we want to bring this back up again? Now that you're a road scholar, is that something you want to champion?
Road scholar, I like that.
At least implementation?
I think, I wouldn't say I'm an expert by attending one class
Just
on
kidding.
it. But I know a little bit about the process. And for us, it's pretty easy. Maybe a little bit more involved when it goes to the town council in what they have to do following legal process to make it happen. But I mean, we really have the easy part.
Now, with the gates, are we interested in changing the classifications of the road, or are we just?
We almost can't change the classification of the road until the gates are there. So the gates represent a classification. So by gating the road, you're changing the classification. So until you gate it, it stays a Class 6 road. But then when you put the gates on, you can leave it a Class 6 road. If you lock the gates, then you have to change the classification of the road before you lock the gates.
Right. Right. You can put gates on it, but you have to be able to let them open and close.
Right.
Because, right, so it's a
Public, it's
legal
a
road.
It's a right of way.
It's just a lot of people, what they do, or a lot of towns, what they do, is they have these roads and they're seasonally closed. You can leave it a Class 6 road and actually close it or lock it seasonally. But there has to be a reason. So, for example, a lot of towns in New Hampshire with snow, they'll, 3 seasons the road's open and the gates are left open or closed, and you get out of your car, open it, go through, close it,
Supposed to.
and continue on. However, in the winter, they're locked because it's not safe to travel. However, some towns will say it's not safe to travel 4 seasons and lock their gates.
Without changing the classification of the road?
Yes.
That's kind of a loophole.
It's kind of a loophole.
Until you're challenged,
Yep.
right? It's just like you can speed all you want, but until a police officer pulls you over,
Mhm.
you don't feel the pain of that, right?
But then when you go to the classification, when you go to the trouble of locking it and changing it to an emergency lane, that gives you some ability to then improve the road and do things like that. However, there's a cost involved doing that. So, it's all stuff we'll have to talk about.
Yeah, which is what we did on Old Kings Highway. We turned it into an emergency lane.
Is that South Greater roadway improvement or path improvement, whatever it ends up being, is that on our mitigation list?
It's one of the items that we set out to do. It could be on the mitigation list, yeah.
Sure.
My preference, and it's been a while since I've looked at all the legal stuff, admittedly since Horse Hill days, or thereabouts, would be to discontinue a portion of South Greater Road, the portion that's impacted by where we want to put the gates. And therefore, it's no longer a road at all. And since we own both sides of the road where we want to put the gates, when you discontinue a road, the road gets split in half, and half of it goes to the landowner impacted on one side, and half of it goes to the landowner impacted on the other side. But we own both sides, so guess what? It's all our land. Okay? So it gets discontinued. You can gate it all you want because it's your own property now, and the land just becomes the owners that are impacted, which is us. And it goes away. And then, because with that beaver pond, we don't want people traversing through there anyways. We want to reroute that trail area anyways, so we don't want to continue using that road anyways. So let's just make it official.
And traffic on that road recently has been significant.
I can believe it, yeah.
There have been a lot of people going up and down that road.
Yeah.
Hunters, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the main
Yeah.
reason, because hunting in your car is so much easier than walking out there.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see the new, fresh ruts and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that would be my preference, is to actually go down and discontinue it, which requires a public hearing and all that, and the council to agree to it.
Right. That's much more involved.
Mhm.
And again, that's something that the town council,
Correct.
they almost have to champion it.
Mm-hmm.
We could urge them to champion it,
Yeah.
but they have to champion it.
Yeah, I think that's the strongest position we can take, and it would be my preference to advocate for that first.
Okay.
And
So
then, and
I think
then
without Jody here today,
Yeah.
makes it a little bit more difficult because she could be our champion.
Yeah, but this is just kind of the beginnings
Yeah.
of the discussion. So, we have precedent with Horse Hill. Granted, we didn't discontinue the road, but we went part way down that road, so it's not part way down that path or road.
Which is
yeah.
they're all synonyms.
So, But it's also in the stewardship plan, right? Isn't the stewardship plan to discontinue it, I believe?
I think the wording is to just install
Okay.
lock gates.
Okay,
Yeah,
all
it
right,
was-
yeah.
You mean in the project plans?
Yeah, project
It's
plan.
just install gates.
Yeah, okay.
We didn't talk to
Okay.
discontinuing the,
Right, okay.
discontinuing it.
So I'm happy to help with the council side of things,
Okay.
but when it comes to actual implementation, bids, and getting it done, I don't have the cycles with this darn pipeline thing going on.
Yeah, and that's one of the great things I think our previous contractor has a lot of experience with very, very large gates,
Mhm.
and he's a welder fabricator.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I think we already have the right person for the job.
Yeah. Right.
And he's now retired and looking for
He's on?
yeah.
Oh, cool.
He's now retired and looking for as much work as we can give him.
Yeah, okay. Good. Okay, so,
200-foot bridge from Bambi Trail to the school.
I'm sure he would be happy to do it.
yeah.
I don't know if he'd be happy to deal with DES.
Are we looking for some estimates on this?
Well, let's get approvals and then, all right. Yeah, so, I think, I mean, that's a viable project. If we're telling Lori that we're gonna now preserve a whole wetland area and stop things, I think this is a
Yeah.
viable project for that.
Absolutely.
And I think it fits within the dollar figure they're willing to spend.
Are you talking about
About mitigation?
just
Yeah,
the gates?
If we wanna wait that long, okay?
Hmm.
Okay, realize, we might wanna do this next year, and this is probably, whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, there'll always be something else.
Yep.
If we want to move forward with this.
So,
Well,
so
we
let
had-
me ask
Don't forget, we have beavers in town. There's gonna be other water problems.
Yeah.
Let me ask a question
Yeah.
of the commission. So, I mean, it makes sense on the Amherst Merrimack side where to put the gate.
Mm-hmm.
That, is within 100 yards, it's there.
Yeah.
On the other side, what is the idea there? Because if you've gone in from that end,
Mm-hmm.
it's wide open.
I can show you a picture
Of where you'd
where I'd do
you're
it.
thinking
Oh, yeah.
before the power lines.
No, much past the power lines.
Is there
We
a-
have to do it where we own both sides of the road,
Okay.
Yeah.
okay? So it's going to be shortly after after you get past the shooting gallery, and
Before the
and
car.
in between, probably between the pond and where the trail falls, comes out of the ridge and hits back down on the road, if you were to take the bypass trail and not actually walk the road. Follow what I'm saying?
No.
So right now, the road itself goes right along the beaver pond from the power lines all the way out to Amherst.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to go, past the power lines, past the shooting range,
Mhm.
you start going in. We actually, we as in a group created a bypass trail that goes up over the ridge
Yes.
and it comes back down again
Or to bypass that wet piece
to
of,
bypass
that
the
wet
wet
piece of
pit.
road.
So between the point where that trail spurs off and the actual pond, and where the other trail shoots
Yeah.
to the west towards Amherst, somewhere in that area, there should be enough rocks and boulders and cliffs where we could put a gate.
All the way there.
Yeah.
Well, you were thinking more towards Wilson Hill.
I was thinking more towards the shooting.
We don't own both sides.
Mm.
I'm thinking we put a gate there for today, and when we own further down, we move the gate.
Now, is there a little tiny part where we own both sides now? Where
Okay, so as soon as you block,
we're
if
blocking
you,
Al Kara.
as soon as you discontinue a section of road that impacts another landowner, they have the ability to get
Reimbursed.
Reimbursed.
Right.
Or I thought they could also add and have another access point.
or we could give them a key and allow them access no matter what. And
Happily mail him a key if I could put it.
the problem is that we don't know who that owner is going to be tomorrow.
Mm.
It could be someone who wants to put 100 homes in. Excuse me. So
So it is Al Kara that's the only property, right?
Yeah. That's the only other.
well, yeah, and then
Once
you
you get past the
Yeah, you could pass the little development that the subdivision that we heard about, yeah. So that's the only concern we have one landowner still, and we're not that landowner yet.
That's if we discontinue.
Yeah, we could put it subject to gate and bars, and provide them access.
Yeah. So
The
we could put 3 gates, essentially.
We could do 3 gates at some point.
We could do 3 gates initially.
We could, right. Yeah, we could see what the will of the council is.
Because if you're too lazy to get out of your car to go hunting, you might be too lazy to get out of your car to check if the gate's locked.
Yeah, you're right. Or you might just run it right over.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You'd have to have a substantial gate, because you look at the gate that's in front of Mitchell Woods. I mean, that's been hit so many times. It's just gone. I mean, it's physically there, but I mean, you walk through the frame to get into Mitchell Woods.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Wasn't a very substantial gate to begin with, but
so
it was also not treated well.
So I'm thinking we should go for the easy win, or easier win,
and discontinue.
and discontinue the portion that we have full control over.
Okay.
Which is,
Because that's where we have the biggest wetland impact right now.
which is basically just on the other side of the pond,
Yeah, it's basically just beyond the other side of the pond.
where,
You're right.
where our line used to be.
Yeah, because we have to get people out of that pond.
And it could be before that turn up to Amherst.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
then people come down to Amherst and go across that thing, so we're not really solving that problem.
Right. Well, we now own all that. We could find,
Oh, we could.
we could put a gate further up, and that's a gate that's not blocking a Class 6 road. That's just gating an old woods road.
And that's an area where they're very active, because Amherst did a great job at building quad trails
Yeah.
on their no motorized
Right.
parcels.
Right. You're right. They built great trails for a no motorized.
Right. They first classified it as no ATVs, and then they built awesome ATV trails.
Yeah. They did.
With an ATV.
Yeah.
So
What does Wes think about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, we could possibly have a number of gates. And I guess I could start taking pictures and doing some
Or
work
tree
on
or
that.
tree felling.
Yeah, right. Or takes.
That's it. Do you want to go? You have to get up and go over the logs.
And again,
And again,
when the motor's running, it's so much easier to just keep going. Yeah, so I'll do some work and look at, 4 locations now for possible gates and come back.
If you need anything, Matt, just let me know.
Okay. Yeah, it'd be great to have a couple of us out there to see.
Yeah, be glad to help you out
Okay.
anytime.
Great. I'll be in touch.
yeah, I'll have time between the 2 holidays, New Year's and Christmas. But all right. So that's for gates. I'll start preparing something for town council activity as well. If you've got any thoughts from your one session class too, or actually, that presentation's probably online, isn't it?
I bet it is. In her book, I mean,
Yeah.
of course, she was promoting the book.
Yeah.
And she said our town had one.
Okay.
She had a list of,
Yeah.
of towns that she sent us to.
Didn't you have it?
Well, I have a road less traveled, or something like that, or the hard road to.
Yeah, there was some.
Yeah, I have that one. That's the one that was done through the municipal association.
Okay. What's the name of this? What's the title of this one? Remember?
I'll find the presentation.
I
I'll
don't
look.
remember, but yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. So other business. Greater Woods Stewardship Plan, Appendix E.
So I did send it back out to you all, but I mean, there's really no change to it other than the fact that we took that last section and said, okay, we're going to have an archive section, and we're going to populate it with our opinion as to why it's in the archive. And it could be for lack of work, it could be because it's a bad idea, it could be for any variety of reasons. So that's the one that I sent out. But we have a subcom meeting in a week. So I'm going to present that copy to the subcom, and we're going to go from there.
All right.
So I think it's pretty much. I got no feedback from anyone on the verbiage, so I'm assuming that it's okay. There's not really much change in there. All we did was add descriptions to, when the trails, when we knew some dates or where they started and things like that. So there's very little, nothing that changes the intent of the management plan. Or the stewardship plan. It's just factual data. So as long as no one has any.
So you're going to get the subcom to agree, and then you're going to have us vote on it?
Right, to put it in that fashion.
Okay.
I think that's the method that we needed to follow. Right? That seems to be the pass.
Okay.
One of the items, I'm going to let Matt speak a little bit to it. He doesn't know it yet. But one of the items that we're going to address, I would imagine, is going to be the name of the latest trail that the Eagle Scout has made. It's Joe Mraz, you were out there this weekend. I know finishing up the trail, as everyone knows, his father passed away suddenly over Thanksgiving. So our intent is to include part of their name or something into the name of that trail. So. I would assume that's gonna come up, obviously in our subcom meeting, but is gonna come up here for final approval. I don't know if we really need to have the name come up here for approval or not. I don't know if that's an item that we want to address.
It's in the past has gone both ways, where subcommittees have done the namings, and other times it's come to the commission. And for some of the Horse Hill names, they actually went to the Board of Selectmen because it was done prior to. Commission being the overseer of Horse Hill. Right. So recently naming a trail after a person who was passed in memory of someone came up in Wildcat Falls, and when I queried the town manager and for what's been done guidance-wise, because this room has been named and the Matthew Thornton room was named recently, and the only guidance they had was for naming features within the town that's under the town council purview. The comment that came up, though, was there's a hesitancy to name things after people because who's to say that this person deserves a name item and this person doesn't? Because there's only so many. It's not a limitless supply.
Right.
Okay. So you can get yourself in hot water quickly if people now all of a sudden think we can start renaming trails in memory of people, and then who gets one and who doesn't. Was this person George Washington or John Smith? That no one knows. So,
well, I want to kind of get our feel for it because I know it's going to come up at the subcom. So
yeah, so that's my only comment on it. I'm happy to let the subcommittee make a recommendation to the commission, but it would be my desire that if we're going to name a trail after someone, that it comes here for a vote.
Okay.
Okay. Because we're the ones who are accountable to the town council.
Yeah. Okay.
So, not that it's going to be potentially a fun discussion, but whatever.
Would let me ask this question.
Yeah.
Let's just say there's a great spot on this trail for a bench, like we did for Harold Watson.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was the compromise for the Wildcat Falls one. Okay. A bench or another feature that you want to add to the property, with a plaque and the whole 9 yards.
Okay.
Whatever.
And then the trail would be better to be named something.
After an attribute of the trail or a feature or something else like Brickyard and Red Maple, they're all named because of something around there. So, or Loop Trail because it's a loop.
The name that we came up with originally still is appropriate.
Okay.
Because I did walk it and just marked that section, and the profile is still there.
The Eagle Trail?
Yes.
Yeah. So, but I think that's an easier thing to go through, and we've done benches and stuff like that and other features.
Okay.
So there is precedent for that. But it's whatever your subcommittee wants to bring forward, so.
Okay. Well, I will then bring that back here once we,
Mhm.
or Gage will,
Yeah.
once we're,
So that's,
done.
it's still pretty appropriate.
Mm.
Just so you know what we're laughing about. That's the profile of that trail. So
Yeah.
it's a pretty appropriate,
Yeah.
name.
Mhm.
And then we'll have to change this again, move this to completed.
Yeah, so that actually raises a little bit, little wrinkle, not necessarily a wrinkle, but it's something else that we need to address. So we're gonna move all the completed projects to the completed section, which is fine. When you complete a trail, we have a section in the plan, section 5, which is trails. And it lists the actual trails. So I'm assuming that we're going to not update that until we update the map. Because I think those two kind of go hand in hand, because the map is the precursor, I think, to that section. So when we complete a trail on the project side,
Mhm.
that means that also is the trigger now that we need to kind of cut and paste the description of just the trail, not so much the work that was the history behind it, but just the trail itself into the trail section. But it also makes sure that we have to update the map.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to keep the updates separate, because I think we can do the appendices without much issue. The trail section, I don't think we should really be much of an issue either, because again, it's a factual item. It's not something that's changing our management philosophy. It's just, it is.
Mhm.
But that's something I think is, obviously when you open that door, it's going to be a little bit more of a review process, because that's within the plan itself and not so much the appendices. Does that sound?
Yeah, but I wouldn't let the added scrutiny slow down the process.
No, I don't think it's going to be a big deal. But I mean, we know we're going to have to open up and change the plan anyways. We've got the property to add. We have.
Yeah.
We're going to have the tree stands. If any unusual new philosophy, we have to, because of that property, there's some new attributes that we need to deal with differently than what we're doing with the rest of the property. So.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
I'm good.
Quickly, target shooting, firearms ordinance. Jody is working it. She's hammering out the legal stuff, working through some of the concerns. Hopefully, if the timing is right, it'll be ready for our next meeting. If not, it'll be early next year. So that was the message she wanted me to pass along for that. So, but it didn't get dropped. Next item is the Watonic Bowman Agreement update. I've started the conversation with town staff to see if there's any items that they'd like to see in an updated agreement. They felt that yes, we have an agreement in place that stands for 5 years, but if both parties wanted to look at it again, they would be more than willing to look at it again. I had a voicemail at home this afternoon from John Hall, trying to clarify some of the comments we made at our last meeting. I'll follow up with him, because honestly I didn't have time at 5:45 to listen through it and absorb what he had to say, so I will. But I think it's fair to say that we want to make a viable agreement that works for everybody. So even though we bantered back and forth, I think our intent is to do something that works for everybody. So that's where that is. I want to just confirm that we could, if the town had any concerns with us opening it up again. So Chestnut Hill Old Blood Properties Conservation Easement. As we all recall, when you folks last took a vote, you all recommended that we take an easement on portions of the Chestnut Hill development. That easement and process is part of the whole wetlands permitting process, which means it has to be ironed out before they can get their permit, which means that I think they're now getting to the point where they want to iron it out and work out whatever the agreement's going to be. So what I'd like to ask all of you today is do you mind if Mike and I work out the details, and then bring back a result that needs to be voted on and discussed here. And just let us go run with it like Mike ran with the recent property purchase. Is that okay with you?
That's fine with me.
Is that the consensus? Everyone okay with us letting us work it for a while? I think it's good to have two of us there. That way there's continuity and different perspectives being addressed. So
The commission's okay with bringing in a third party like Piscataqua Land Trust or an easement. Is the Conservation Commission comfortable with that?
So an option. So right now, the way it was agreed is the commission would take an easement on the parcel, and there'd be ownership somewhere. Another thing that could fall out of this is that the commission is the owner of the property, and the PLC has an easement over it, third-party easement over it, to provide that layer. That DES has changed its rules in the last couple of years, so they're really stressing third-party easements. But in poking around, they're okay if the town was to own it and we held the easement. So we're essentially the third party.
Okay.
Because we have legal,
Right.
we are a separate legal entity, we have resources, and we're active. So, but if they really push the third party option, so. I don't want to get too much into the details here.
Because we don't have the details yet anyway.
We don't have the details yet. We're just kind of poking around with some ideas. So, but essentially, if you don't mind, let us play with some ideas and come back to you.
Yep.
If we think we need to do a non-public because of sensitive things, we'll do that, or we'll bring it up at a meeting. Okay.
Okay.
So,
Sounds good.
all right. I didn't figure you'd argue if someone was willing to do work and you didn't have to do it. But if someone else wants to be part of the process, I'm okay with that too. So, or if someone wants to join us, I'm okay with that as well. Just when you get 5 people, it becomes a quorum, and then we have to publicize the meeting. So, okay, that's all I have on that. Commission walk of our newly acquired properties near Greater Woods. I know weather can play an issue at this time of year, but not so far. But do we want to schedule a walk of our properties?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Kind of figured that. So, since I think a quorum of us would like to participate, we have to make it a noticed activity.
That's what we did last time when we
Yep.
acquired the Homestead property.
Yep.
We had a couple of members of the town council with us also. It was good.
Yeah. So what are we thinking for dates to do a walk?
We'll pick a nice day.
Yeah.
Saturday looks nice.
Yeah.
Did you look at an extended
Everybody's
forecast?
got their calendar on their
Yeah.
phone. It's like,
55 and sunny on
Wow.
Saturday.
We'll be sweating.
you want to make it for Saturday? I think
Friday, Sunday, 90 55. Look at that. Same thing on Sunday.
it's all right. I don't have my calendar on my phone.
Saturday is certainly an option. Yeah. How early?
8:30, 9 o'clock. Oh.
No, that's fine.
Drink champagne that early in the morning?
Yeah, right.
It's pretty cool in the morning. 9 o'clock is good.
Yeah,
right?
that's true. It'd be cooler earlier.
Yeah.
You really worried about it being 55?
Yeah.
Oh no, wait. Sometimes it's a lot hotter than they say it's going to be.
Yeah.
Can't really predict.
8:30 is fine too.
But
9.
Okay.
Saturday, 9.
Saturday at 9 a.m. Meet.
We're just going to do what we did last time, just give people coordinates.
No.
not if you want me to get there.
Oh, that was so much fun.
Wilson, we should probably go off of Wilson Hill.
Yeah. Where are we going to park?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Right.
On the road.
Yeah, right when you go in, there's
Really worried about backing each other in, so.
this kind of parking right there on the right-hand side once you go in there.
Yeah, but the town right of way is very narrow, so you're on someone else's property, whether it looks like it or not.
We went in through.
We just met at the bridge. But we could,
Oh, that's right.
you could park at Amherst too at the.
I mean, do you want to meet
Greater
at the
Road.
Amherst parking lot?
Sure.
Because then
Greater-
we can see the two parcels.
And I can show you something else on the way.
Yeah.
We can see where the gate
All
would
right.
possibly go.
Okay, so we'll meet at the. So, does everyone know where that is?
No.
Greater Road, yeah, I could. Greater Road off of South Babusick Lake Road.
Do you remember where I live? You just go right past
Vaguely.
there to the next road on the left.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need some help?
Yeah, well, like an address would be good.
It's
Go to Mike's house and follow.
That's right. Meet,
You wanna go to my house?
Meet
Do that.
at
Go to
Mike's
my
house.
house.
Yeah, meet at Mike's house.
You want to go to my house and go with me?
We're all gonna be driving by it to
Yeah.
get there.
Yeah.
That's true.
We could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay.
All right.
16 PB Lane.
Got a pool from
And
Mike's.
now everybody in the world knows.
Yeah. I know.
All those millions of people that watch Channel
Right.
22.
You got a big van. You can take us home. Right?
All right.
About that.
So I will have to get that noticed. Okay. All right, I will do that.
Yep. Saturday the 12th. Right.
Okay. So any activity related to beaver policy or water control activities?
So obviously we have had a new instance of a problem,
Yeah.
and we got to go over and find it. I'm trying to figure out what was going on. I mean, it was good that Kyle was here because the town GIS project is kind of. I guess we have a limited number of licenses for a couple groups to test it out with, because we still haven't put our data layer into GIS. So we're trying to work that through and find out how what needs to happen to get that data layer in. And Tim is the holder for one of the licenses, so we can work through him, and he's kind of it's going to be an easy thing for us to work through. So we'll have to try to see if we can get that data in and update it, because we've got obviously something new brewing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I have a lot of pictures of that area over time, if we want to get an idea of what's gone on over time.
Yeah, that would be just interesting just to see.
Yeah, okay.
What time are we doing this? 9?
9 a.m. So that's around what we call the Bradish Bridge. That was done by Luke Bradish, I believe, that bridge. In case anyone wants to know history. So. Okay, Luke is a fine young man these days. It's been many years since he did it, so, but yeah. But all right, so that's all I have for other business. Anyone have anything else under other business? All right, so that takes us to minutes. I did not have time to review the minutes closely.
I only got through half of them.
Oh, you did. I was counting on you doing.
Yeah, I only got
You
through
get every
half.
period, every comma, everything.
No.
Anyone else had a good chance to
I
look?
didn't get through them all.
So I move to table the minutes to the next meeting.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye, that passes 5-0-0. Table to the next meeting. All right. So that brings us to public comment. Anyone in the public wish to speak?
I just kind of showed up too late, I guess.
You did.
Oh, yeah.
You came too late, Don.
How did it go?
Yeah.
Why don't you come on up, Don? Sorry. Just because typically when you ask one question, then comes another. So Don Minor.
Don Minor.
Yeah. We'll get him to slide the thing, all right?
I've been called a resident activist now.
Thank you.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm known far and wide for some reason.
So we didn't meet very long with them. They explained the wetland permitting process and mitigation process as they understood it. we asked a few questions as to the extent of the permanent mitigation, which they believe is 1 to 1.5 acres of permanent impact that would need to be mitigated.
That's all they're thinking?
Yep.
Okay.
Permanently.
Permanent.
Yeah.
Permanently.
Permanent
They
mitigation.
have temporary that they're going to restore whatever area they disturb back to its original.
Well, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I know.
My question, I guess, would be, you guys are aware, like, has the route changed again?
No.
Okay.
Well,
Do you know where they want to
we
go
know of.
across Bob LeBlanc's property?
Yep.
The wetland across from the street from there?
Mm-hmm.
New Hampshire DOT was originally going to put Cottonwood Boulevard in his yard,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason they didn't was the bog there has got 30 feet of peat moss,
Mm-hmm.
or excess of, and that would channel that whole area. I mean, we're talking prehistoric times stuff in the bottom of that. So that's why the DOT forewent that and went where they went. So I don't know if you knew that or shared that.
I didn't share that with them, no.
They can find out on their own, I guess.
Yeah, well, we have a conservation easement over that parcel.
Correct. But and I know you know that,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
I can't see that being only half an acre or acre and a half, whatever they
Right.
said.
No, so they're only talking, when they say permanent impact, they're talking about the 10 feet over the top of the pipeline.
I don't understand how
That's,
Yeah.
or-
that works in their translation.
yeah, so in a non-wetland area, they would have a wider area that they would maintain herbicides and all that, but over the top of a pipeline, in a wetland area, they're only going to maintain the 10 feet that are right on top of the pipeline. The rest of it, they're going to let go back to the way it was. Now, they're going to open it wide when they do their work, but then they're going to close it all down. So their permanent impact is the 10 feet over the top of the pipeline.
Wow,
That's their definition.
Yeah.
Okay?
amazing.
I don't see it that way, but
Right?
No, I know.
Understood.
No, they have magic herbicides that only affect that 10 feet.
I used to have a pesticide license.
there-
I know.
Is there any kind of like third-party verification that these are restored and, you know?
There's a permit involved, and there are inspectors involved.
Federal inspectors, right?
Well, if they're dealing in a wetland, DES has authority.
So I had a meeting with gubernatorial candidate Chris Sununu. We had it, can't remember the date, up at the, anyway, Matthew Thornton Room. And it was a small gathering, which was fine. We also had questions that came across the table, and a direct question came was, can anybody stop this pipeline? And he said yes. And they said, who? And he said, the governor. They can put a stop to it. Now, he also disclosed this election will happen prior to this going forward, the final say happening.
Right.
Just throwing that out there.
Yep.
So it can be stopped even then, if the governor was to. He's shared a lot of other things. He's not, I don't want to say against the pipeline or a pipeline. He said, but this one, they're not answering the questions that need to be answered. They're not, I'm going to quote him. He said that he spoke to someone higher in Kinder Morgan than we have been. And it's a woman, I guess she was the vice or CEO or something. And she said, or he told her that their PR sucks. It completely sucks. And they just dropped the ball with the whole thing. That's his words, not mine. I'm trying to censor myself a little bit too, but he didn't have a lot of good things to say, and they're kind of finally realizing it. And I think we've had conversations, Tim, where we're educating the people have been educating them on where to put it and what to do and how to handle it, and the whole way, which has been I kind of regret doing some of the things we have done because we have educated them on how to do it. We're having a meeting with.
You don't think that was part of their business plan?
It was. I've also done a little
Okay.
research, and
Right, just so
they've
you
taken
realize
some
that.
grief counseling. I mean, these guys are hardcore, know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So they know how to negotiate with. That's why they wanted to negotiate with just individuals,
Oh, yeah.
not the whole group
Yeah.
of landowners.
Yeah, this is part of their business
Oh,
plan.
I know their game, and they know I know their game, and that's the problem. So we have a meeting with Colin Van Ostern, yeah, on the 16th over there. So if any of you guys want to come and ask questions of him and his plan for the pipeline, because I'm trying to get some of the guys that are running for governor for the Merrimack residents to come out and check it out.
Okay.
So he's going to be there at 7. I'm not trying to promote that. I'm just throwing that out there to you guys.
So we didn't have a long discussion. It's taped. You'll be able to see it.
Yeah.
So it was probably a little over an hour into our meeting that they got, maybe an hour and 10 minutes, something like that.
So the mitigation's that, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of the first conversation. There'll be more.
Were they looking to, they're going to offer up something to get something?
No,
or,
right. So right now it has the route. I mean, the route will dictate what kind of mitigation they have to do, but it wasn't a discussion about the route. It was just they're going to have to mitigate wetlands. That's known. Somewhere along the line, no matter what, when you're dealing in New Hampshire, you're going to have to mitigate wetlands.
Oh, sure. I know how it works, yeah.
So they're just looking for potential projects that they can offer as mitigation projects outside of the scope of this project. So if you disturb wetlands, you have to mitigate it somewhere else.
Correct.
Or on site if possible, but that's not possible. They don't own the land, so they can't mitigate it on site. So therefore, they have to, when they file their wetlands permit to DES, they have to say, well, we're going to mitigate this impact in this manner. And they technically have 4 ways to do it. One of them is to write a big check. And 3 others are to do different kinds of projects within the aquifer, preferably within the aquifer that's impacted. It doesn't have to be preferred. And what we've stated to FERC is that we prefer that they do a project in Merrimack. And their comment to us today was their timing, when they think they would need to know what kind of projects that would be appropriate. They would rather do a project that we provide input on. DES would like to see that as well as part of their process. And so in order for me to, or us to offer projects, we need to understand their timing. And I wanted a rough idea of how much money they're bringing to the table. So if they firmly believe they're going to disturb an acre to an acre and a half, there's a formula. You plug it in, and it spits out a number. Okay, and they said typically in towns it's an acre to an acre and a half of permanent impact. So I can now go to that formula, and they'll crank out, and it'll become some number. And now I know what some number is, and I know what their timing is, and now I can gauge what kind of project they're willing to help us with. My comment tonight was, if it all works out and it's $1,000, I'm not going to put a whole lot of effort in getting $1,000 out of Kinder Morgan because I'm a volunteer. I got better things to do. But if it turns out it's $500,000, not likely at all, I'd put a little more effort in making sure we get $500,000 out of Kinder Morgan to mitigate wetlands.
Right.
I'm not looking for a payoff check just to mitigate wetlands. Because they're going to write the check to someone, it might as well stay here as opposed to go to the ARM fund, which is that 4th option, because then anyone in the state can draw on that money. And honestly, I like the city of Berlin, but they don't need my money.
They get her toll money.
Yeah. However, when she said that, she had a calculated slip, and she said compensation. Oh, I mean mitigation. She purposefully did that. You know, you can
they
tell.
know what they're doing. They don't make mistakes.
Yeah.
Because with Channel 9, I told them that they paid $36 a linear foot. That's the most they've paid ever.
Yeah.
Across this country, $36 a linear foot. They don't pay a lot. It's a one-time deal.
And that's their preferred thing, a one-time deal. They don't want to get into lease arrangements and all of that.
Right. They don't want to buy houses.
Nope. They don't want to buy houses. No.
Right.
Yep. Okay.
Anyway.
Yep.
You guys about it. Unless you guys... I didn't want to recap the whole meeting.
That's fine. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming, Tom.
See you later.
Yeah. Anyone else? All right. Commissioner comments? Cindy?
No, not tonight.
Matt?
Just want to thank all the volunteers that came out and helped this weekend, including Mike and some of the subcommittee members for Greater Woods helping with Joe's Eagle Project. It's well done. A lot of hours put in this weekend.
Cool. Well, I appreciate it as well. Yeah.
I'm all set.
Gage? Mike?
No, just one quick thank you to this committee for their dedication. And, I mean, we have people who are doing all aspects of all kinds of things, spending a lot of time, and I just want to say thanks.
Yep, thank you for what you do. Yep. All right. This has the entire November submittal. If anyone needs the November submittal. Okay. I just wanted to offer it. Bring it. It's here. What else? Jeff has provided me a little more information. We can catch up with that at some point when we get going. I didn't think it was pressing for the discussion during the meeting, so. And that's all I have. We meet again on the 21st. So.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
So moved by Matt, seconded by Cindy. All those in favor of adjourning? Aye. It passes 5-0-0 at 9:37 p.m.
Not even